betrayed, and thrown to the monsters. This kid's body literally turned to dust. All that was left was a single piece of bone lost out in the wasteland. But what the rest of the world didn't know is that this guy is straight up impossible to kill. Kidnapped as a little kid, he was turned into test subject number 17. He went through 80 years of pure torture and messed up genetic experiments in the dark, until they tossed him out like trash into a suicide mission gate. Except instead of dying, he wiped the monsters straight off the map. His body adapted. He ended up awakening an OP power that's borderline ridiculous. Now he cancels out ultimate attacks with a simple finger flick. He crushes S-rank villains until they're literally the size of marbles. And he spams forbidden spells like it's child's play. The trash tier experiment got reborn, and now the whole world is gonna have to pay the price. Ripping through the sky out of nowhere, a massive red rift just shows up and completely wrecks everyone's peace. It brought this bizarre portal right along with straight-up chaos for all of humanity. People quickly dubbed it the Demon Realm, and pretty soon these terrifying beasts started invading our world. They turned everything into an all-you-can-eat buffet. And yeah, regular people became the main course. But right in the middle of all that despair, a few chosen ones awakened and became known as hunters. They unlocked mana and crazy unique powers. It basically gave the world real-life superheroes. Thanks to this crew, humanity could finally fight back, and man, the absolute beatdown started flying everywhere. Once the dust finally settled, everyone started rebuilding and trying to get their normal lives back. But that peace really didn't last long. Those beasts just kept spawning out of the rifts non-stop. Trying to hold the line, the warriors pushed themselves to the absolute limit. They threw everything they had into the fight, but the math just wasn't adding up. So a lot of them ended up meeting a seriously tragic fate. The problem was super obvious. They were running out of hunters because way too many guys were dropping in combat, losing super hard on those numbers. The higher-ups realized they needed a seriously drastic way out. So the scientists decided to play God. They started creating artificial life to literally manufacture their own heroes. That's how they brought chimera hunters into the world. These were lab-grown beings with completely insane power levels. They used a super messed up recipe for this. They actually mixed prisoners with animal DNA. Then they tossed in minerals from the portals to give this whole twisted mess a massive upgrade. They topped off the combo with beast cells. It basically created this insanely dangerous genetic cocktail. The lab was absolutely packed with failed test subjects, but eventually, one experiment actually worked. Out of pure desperation, they started mass-producing these chimeras. They were straight-up monsters built just to beat down other monsters. And the crazy idea actually worked. Scientists and hunters teamed up, which finally stopped the massive casualties. This massive backup gave everyone some much-needed breathing room. Society could finally start trying to bounce back. Fast forward a few decades to a hidden lab. This one scientist is just complaining about their latest test subject. Walking up to containment, he flashes a light into the cell. That's when he spots number 17's totally bizarre arm. His coworker is shaking in his boots and tells him to back up, but the first guy figures the beast's brain is already fried anyway. Pointing right at the messed up arm, he even wonders if that's just some crazy side effect from the tests. He totally mocks his coworker and assumes the beast is blind, but he's got no clue this thing sees absolutely everything. The scared guy quickly suggests they just trash the creature. His buddy agrees and they just move on like it's nothing. They sneak right on out of there, and they leave our boy completely dumped alone in the pitch black. They immediately report back to the director. They tell him number 17 is straight up useless now. After they explain how busted his body is, the boss only cares about one thing. He wants to know exactly how much time the kid has left. They give him 1 month to live at the absolute max. And honestly, everyone's totally on board with that death sentence. Right then, the director gets this wildly toxic idea. He wants to toss the kid into a portal to act as a living human shield. They send him out on the mission without any return command. It's a straight-up one-way ticket to hell. In the blink of an eye, the kid drops right into the demon realm. They totally threw him to the wolves here, and the welcome party's already crazy. This super sinister flying beast immediately dives in for an attack, but our boy holds his ground like an absolute tank. He pops his claws and gets totally ready to return the favor. He shoots out these wild energy threads to tie the beast's mouth shut, and that kicks off the absolute horror show. He makes the ground completely explode. He just stands there looking badass right in the middle of this massive dust hurricane. Then this nasty, bizarre worm thing bursts right out of the ground. It pretty much guarantees this is going to be a super long day. He digs his claws deep into the dirt. His whole stance makes it perfectly clear that playtime is officially over. He tanks a massive light beam from the worm and gets sent flying. The beast is honestly super confused by the whole thing. Surrounded by all these heavy attacks, our MC literally feels zero pain. He just brushes off the insane beatdown like it's nothing. Then this massive lizard starts charging up blue energy in its mouth. It's clearly prepping some top-tier heavy firepower. It fires off a laser that completely swallows the kid. It totally looks like it's game over for him. But the blast deflects right back with some insane force. The lizard catches its own attack and is left completely stunned. It starts screaming in pain while getting totally fried by its own move. It definitely paid the ultimate price for slacking off there. Watching from a distance, the hunter squad is absolutely speechless. They can't even believe how OP this chimera really is. The blonde kid chimes in to say the rift has been stuck open for 3 days. That definitely helps calm the group down a bit. They honestly think this totally busted chimera could hold off the entire monster horde forever. Drawing his sword, one of the guys reminds everyone of their actual goal. The squad's mission is super simple and straight to the point. They just gotta clean up any trash-tier beasts that slip past the kid's defense. It's basically the easiest carry job ever. But suddenly, the portal up in the sky starts twisting and fading out. That's a clear sign the fun is officially over. With the portal disappearing, the leader gets the hint loud and clear. He decides it's definitely time for them to bail. He orders an immediate retreat for the entire squad. They seriously can't afford to waste a single second here. Making a mad dash for the exit, one guy smacks right into a cracking barrier. They're totally out of time. The female hunter gets super worried and asks about the kid, but the boss straight up tells her to leave him behind. He tries to justify it by saying the test subject already did its job. They're literally treating him like a disposable tool. It heavily weighs on her conscience for sure, but the boss just tells her to chill out and calls the kid a machine. He claims they're just following their orders. Meanwhile, the kid's eyes show that the tables are about to completely turn. Without even a second thought, he grabs the beast's paw with some insane grip strength. He literally makes blood go flying everywhere. He follows the super basic logic of just eliminating his targets. At this point, the guy's basically running on full autopilot. The alert to protect the squad keeps flashing in his mind. It's just your classic everyday suicide mission. The monster actually smirks, thinking it's about to get a free meal. It's got absolutely no clue who it's messing with right now. Not even a little bit intimidated. Our boy's eye just glows a bright blue. He starts charging up a seriously heavy-hitting attack. He fires off a massive wave of power that literally wipes everything off the map. It even grinds the solid ground straight to dust. He keeps hearing that toxic scientist's voice echoing in his glitching mind. He's locked in on just completing the mission. His body literally starts falling apart right after he secures their escape route. It's a completely invisible, heartbreaking sacrifice. Literally melting into the ground, he tries to trigger the return command. It's his absolute last sliver of hope, but the system rejects his request right to his face. It just goes to show his dark fate was totally sealed from the start. He leaves behind a perfectly clean report with 0 casualties. Plus, he straight up deleted over 1,000 monsters. Total success. Then in his dying breath, we get the massive plot twist. He used to be a regular human kid who got kidnapped at 9 years old. His old life starts flashing right before his eyes like a movie. He remembers every single thing that got stolen from him. His brain is so scrambled by the experiments that he can't even process the memories. It basically feels like looking at a totally different language. He just chills there and watches it all play out. He totally accepts this super confusing, bittersweet goodbye. We jump back 79 years into the past. One of the caretakers is totally weirded out by the kid's strange name. Moving to 70 years ago, our boy takes absolutely 0 disrespect. He pays back their bullying by throwing rocks straight at them. That makes the orphanage owners completely lose their minds. They get super mad and just slam the door right in his face. So he gets kicked out and dumped all by himself. He's just left out there to freeze in the totally brutal winter streets. He obviously can't handle the freezing temperatures for long. He ends up passing out, which kicks off his absolute worst nightmare. These 2 sketchy rich dudes pull up in a fancy car. They point at him looking all disgusted and literally ask for the kid's price tag. The scene cuts straight to him struck down on a medical bed. This totally unhinged scientist pulls out a massive syringe for his new test subject. The medical team officially confirms the kid in their creepy system. They register him as the brand new number 17. They start rolling the cameras to record the sick experiment. Then they straight up inject him with S-rank silkworm larva cells. They carve number 17 right into his arm. Meanwhile, the lead scientist watches him like a hawk for any sort of crazy reaction. Against all odds, the kid survives and unlocks his powers. He even manages to keep his sanity completely intact. So he got lucky, right? Nope, cause the boss is an absolute psycho. He orders them to inject the kid with everything they have until his body starts mutating. That basically starts years of straight up torture. They pumps the kid full of every kind of sketchy genetic trash you could think of. Jumping ahead to 64 years ago, our boy wakes up feeling completely drained after yet another another horrible test. He forces himself to stand up and stares down this huge yellow monster. He just fires a shot, completely running on muscle memory. Right as he gets swarmed by these massive giant wasps, but he doesn't even blink because this is just his everyday routine now. He completely vaporizes the buds with a single blast. It totally proves he's evolved into a walking weapon of mass destruction. He clears out the heavy rubble and actually saves a mother and daughter. It shows the hero inside of him is somehow still alive. The terrified woman showers him with endless thank yous. He just gives her a quick nod and tells her everything's cool, flashing forward to 59 years ago. The kid's all grown up now, but he's wandering the streets looking totally out of it. He's completely surrounded by a bunch of slaughtered beasts. His mind is glitching out so bad that he can't even process what just happened. Of course, that scumbag scientist shows up just to mock him. He totally taunts our guy and asks if his memory is starting to fail. He's literally celebrating the horrible side effects. He's super hyped that his completely twisted plan is finally working perfectly. Jumping to 54 years ago, the crazy old man is just scribbling away on his nasty little clipboard. And that's where it all goes down, because after 15 long years and 500 brutal tests, our boy finally just breaks, bringing back a chopped up monster. The scientists were totally bragging about number 17's success. Jumping back 20 years, we see a hand feeding the MC some raw meat like he's just a stray dog. Then this woman gets completely jump scared by him. Let's be real, his mutated look definitely wasn't helping things. It left everyone totally disgusted and terrified. One dad even covers his kid's eyes right on the spot. 3 days before he blacked out, he was dealing with a seriously heavy brawl. He was taking hits from absolutely everywhere, even completely beat up. The only thing he cared about was getting all his missions cleared. Back in the present, the sun hits the canyon, and our boy's body literally just turns to dust. But it wasn't a total wipe. There's just this tiny piece of his spine left buried in the sand. Out of nowhere, the bone starts shaking and pulling in matter to rebuild itself. The whole thing is straight up surreal. A super bright light flashes inside. It makes it totally clear that this show is far from over. It literally remakes his entire spine. The thing is glowing with the energy of 527 different cells. It brings the ribs right along with it. Number 17's skeleton is officially back in business. Meat and muscle start wrapping around the bones super fast. It honestly looks like some bizarre spaghetti. The whole regen process finishes off with a massive golden explosion. It brings our MC back at full power. Then 2 regular feet touch the ground. He totally left that bizarre beast form in the past, standing up with a brand new human face. He just stares at his own hands, totally confused about what's going on. He straight up respawned from the ashes alone in the desert. It totally proves he refused to just be a memory, completely butt-naked and confused. He actually asks out loud if he's a human again, but then his arm shifts into a sinister claw. Yeah, that shows he isn't exactly 100% human anymore. Looking at his wrist, that creepy experiment tattoo is totally gone. He's officially a free man now. He realizes right away he only revived because of some immortal cell. It's a total Phoenix vibe. It works just like a jellyfish. He basically got the totally OP power to revive up to 3 times no sweat. He knows those cells weren't even supposed to fuse like that, but man, his body is feeling like it's in its absolute prime. He figures out the blacking out wiped away all the nasty side effects. His mind is totally fresh and clear now. At least I'm wondering if he can finally just live a totally normal human life now. Right then he remembers the lead scientist suggesting he should start helping people. The guy even suggested the name Cheon Du Woon, which means helping 1,000 people. Talk about pure irony. He immediately calls total BS on that. He thinks it's completely ridiculous for a trash orphan to go around playing hero, standing there thinking for a sec. The very first idea that pops into his head is just getting some sweet revenge, but he obviously needs a target for that, and right now, he's totally lost and clueless on where to start. Since so much time passed, that revenge idea totally cooled off. Plus, he's literally stuck here in the demon realm. He decides if he ever bumps into those guys, he'll definitely settle the score. But for now, he's just gonna let it slide. He cracks this little smirk. He's honestly just super happy to finally find a brand new direction in life, staring right at the sun with his mind made up. Our guy is totally ready to kick off this new chapter. He's got a super simple goal in mind now. He just wants to try living peacefully like a regular human. So on to step 1. He needs to find some clothes, because he doesn't even remember the last time he wore anything. Walking around totally naked right now, now. He's hyper-focused on slowly getting his humanity back step by step. He pulls up to a river looking for a fresh fit, but he's got zero clue where he's supposed to actually get any fabric. He definitely needs something durable. Life in this place is basically the exact opposite of a walk in the park. He just walks straight into the woods totally bare. He's completely ready to explore this wild environment. He suddenly hears this weird noise out of nowhere. He stops dead in his tracks and goes on high alert. He runs straight into this totally busted giant griffin. It looks like the thing just got jumped by a whole gang. He checks out the beast and notices it doesn't even have any open wounds. He realizes it must have dropped from poison. He seriously hit the jackpot here. He needed some leather, and this beast literally just fell right out of the sky. He morphs his right arm straight into a blade. Our boy is basically a living Swiss Army knife at this point. He totally takes advantage of this absurd plot armor. It's perfectly timed right when he needed the knife the most. Remembering his butchery classes from the lab days, he instantly starts planning out the best cuts, but the second his blade touches it, his hand starts stinging. He quickly realizes this isn't going to be a total breeze. He feels this totally bizarre tingling. The beast's poison is straight up trying to take him down too. Then this purple aura leaks out of the griffin, and our MC just absorbs it. Hey, what doesn't kill you makes you completely OP, but he complains super hard about the nasty poison smell. He's gonna need a seriously urgent shower after this. Ripping off the leather to throw together a quick outfit, he just completely ignores the rest of the nasty carcass. He tosses the hide in the water to try and soften it up. He totally thought it'd be easy, but yeah, think again. When he goes to wring it out, the thing turns hard as concrete. Clearly, no amount of water was gonna fix this mess. A light bulb just goes off in his head. He instantly comes up with a total galaxy brain idea to fix the situation. He starts absolutely hammering the leather with pure punches. If finessing it didn't work, brute force definitely would. He literally tans the fabric by just beating the crap out of it. He knocks off all the fur and fat right on the spot. It works like an absolute charm. Our MC gets super hyped seeing the leather perfectly soft in his hands. He just takes his measurements by eyeing it up. Let's skip the fine details so nobody gets a jump scare here. Suddenly, the griffin's head bursts into flames out of nowhere. It honestly looks like some discount pet shop phoenix. He takes a random peck out of nowhere and is completely shook. Is this plucked chicken seriously still alive? Getting back to the task at hand, he uses his raw OP strength to rip the leather into the exact perfect shape, throwing on the piece and tying up a quick makeshift belt. He checks himself out and actually thinks it ain't half bad. He's totally proud of his new Fred Flintstone drip. He realizes the whole fit actually suits him like a glove. He starts feeling this weird itch while a purple aura leaks out. It's a clear sign he didn't fully digest that nasty poison. Ignoring all that, he sees the griffin's head still moving. The thing is as annoying and persistent as an overdue bill. The creature starts making this bizarre choking sound. It honestly sounds like it's desperately trying to tell him something. It finally clicks in his head and he cracks a huge smile. If the beast revived, it must be totally immortal just like him. The old him would have totally finished it off, but seeing the poor thing looking completely harmless, he just doesn't see the point. Flashing a massive smile, he tells the bird they both got super lucky. Now the only goal is to just survive and live their lives. He walks off in total peace. He makes it super clear that if fate allows it, they'll bump into each other again down the road. Walking a bit further, he stumbles across this totally dark cave. It actually seems like a super solid place to start out. Sporting his brand new drip, he focuses on the next big step. He seriously needs to find a decent spot to crash. But before he can even think, the wall just completely cracks open. It turns out this place already came with a totally unwelcomed tenant. This absolute unit of a giant centipede bursts out screaming its lungs off. Talk about having the worst, noisiest neighbors. It hovers right over him looking completely menacing. It makes our MC look like a tiny little toy next to this monster. Without even blinking, he just stares right up at the thing. He completely casually asks if this place is always so pitch dark. He sees the massive bug try to spit this toxic green slime at him. Our boy just casually raises his hand and completely blocks the attack. He straight up hits it with a massive rejected. He completely evicts the squatter and claims the whole cave for himself. Continuing his epic house hunting quest, he ends up stopping by this freezing cold, totally snowed out mountain. Exploring the icy landscape, he's honestly probably just trying to escape that completely brutal natural AC. He runs into some more awesome new neighbors. This time it's a squad of giant yetis who completely woke up on the wrong side of the bed. He quickly swats the big guys away, but he realizes there's literally zero food around here, so that's a total rejected. He stumbles into this giant mushroom forest next, but the smell is absolutely awful, earning an instant rejected. He tests out another cave, but it's super drippy and way too humid. He totally scratches that one off the list on the spot. Pulling up to an active volcano with totally unbearable heat. It gets rejected real quick because our guy is super picky. He finally stops at a nice sunny cliffside. He actually found a spot that didn't feel like a total oven or a freezer. Seeing this beautiful waterfall and crystal clear lake, he's totally blown away by the absolute awesome vibes of the place. Getting super hyped up, he literally yeets himself right off the cliff. He doesn't even think twice about the massive drop, running right along the edge of the lake. He makes it perfectly clear that he's completely stoked about his choice. Looking into the super clean water, it's so clear he can literally see a bunch of fish swimming around totally chilling. Sure, they were completely sinister mutant piranhas, but to him, they're basically just a totally free barbecue feast waiting to happen. He's already daydreaming about a cozy cabin with fresh fish right in the backyard. He totally decides he's building his base right there. There's even these little yellow flowers adding that totally cozy nature touch all around the spot. It's got totally fresh air and massive green trees. It seriously feels like a 5-star resort hidden right in the middle of all this chaos. Taking a super deep breath right in the middle of this beautiful forest, he immediately hits it with his total stamp of approval, making the final call with total success. Our boy's brand new home base is officially locked in and approved. He honestly finally found his own little corner of peace and quiet, all right in the middle of this completely insane apocalypse. But happiness seriously never lasts long for our MC. The sky suddenly starts throwing this super intense blue electric tantrum. The crazy energy straight up turns into a massive new portal, and just like that, his little peaceful vacation is successfully canceled right on the spot. Spit right out of the portal, something totally smashes into the ground. It literally looks like an express delivery package. Then this totally busted robot stands up from the crater. It honestly looks like it was built out of spare blender parts. Flashing its red eyes, the total clunker scans the area. It's totally wondering where the heck it just landed. Switching scenes, our MC picks out a plot of land. He decides he's gonna build his very own house right there. Starting off with the foundation, he holds out his hand. He unleashes this super weird burst of energy. A massive golden wave totally sweeps through the forest. Our boy basically turned into a one-man wrecking crew. The giant trees completely fail to tank the impact. They just instantly snap and crash straight to the ground. Seeing the area totally cleared out, he takes a look around. He realizes he's got more than enough space for the build. He uses his powers to float the logs and picks out the best ones. He's basically acting like a living crane right now. After stacking up all the wood, our MC notices the ground is looking a little bit uneven, so he just delivers this massive stomp and forces the dirt to level out. Seriously, the raw OP strength in his foot is insane. With everything totally prepped and the sun shining down, the fresh new lot was officially ready to go. Clenching his fist, he really just enjoys being able to move freely. It's honestly just pure, unadulterated freedom. He casually grabs a giant log with just one hand. Now it's totally time to drive the main pillars right into the ground. He's honestly having a blast with the whole process. He totally enjoys the free will of building his very first home. Tapping into his super speed, he nails down the floorboards in the blink of an eye. The Flash would seriously be crying out of total jealousy. But what happens when you run out of nails? Well, the kid's totally galaxy brain solution is just using monster slime. He smears this nasty green goo right onto the wood. The stuff is gonna harden up and basically turn solid as a rock. Putting on the finishing touches, he uses his powers to spread these sweet-smelling plants all around the spot, smiling at his totally finished work. The scent is actually gonna act as a massive natural repellent against any wild threats, wrapping up the wooden cabin with straight-up slug glue and spider webs. Honestly, it actually turned out super cozy. Scratching his head, he definitely feels like something is missing. He tries to remember what a normal human house actually looked like. That triggers a quick flashback to his lab days. He remembers the totally messed up scientists showing him videos of normal homes. They always had happy families, a dog, and a nice garden. It was this completely normal life that he got robbed of. But keeping a regular pet dog out here would be totally impossible. It'd be straight up cruel to the poor little guy. He even wanted to start up a small garden. He just had totally no clue what would actually grow in this completely cursed dirt. Right then, a light bulb totally goes off in his head. This absolutely genius idea pops up out of nowhere. He remembers that freezing mountain and those super rare mandrakes. Looks like dinner's about to get a totally exotic upgrade. Heading straight back into the freezing cold without a second thought, he climbs right up the peak hunting for the little plant. He knows they absolutely love the ice and super dense mana. Our MC totally goes full-on biologist mode here, trudging through the heavy snow. The dark memory of the day he was kidnapped just comes flooding right back. It's honestly completely ironic. It was so freezing cold out there that getting kidnapped felt like a total relief at the time. But hey, being an OP chimera definitely has its perks. There's zero chance of him freezing or starving to death anymore. Feeling the mana getting super dense nearby, the crazy blizzard finally starts backing off a bit. Bingo. He spots the little plant sprouting right out of the snow. This totally makes the whole freezing trip worth it. Except mandrakes are super delicate. Any random weather change and they just straight up die on the spot. Focusing on the youngest and most adaptable sprouts, he plans to take exactly 3 roots back to his base. He rips the first one out, totally expecting that classic ear-piercing scream. He doesn't even bother covering his ears, but the plant just lets out the super cute little yawn. It leaves our boy completely and utterly confused. He pulls up another root and the exact same sleepy sound happens again. Man, that's just straight up bizarre. Even a third one just quietly grumbles. He totally didn't expect these things to be this polite. Bundling them all together, they just mumble and snuggle up against each other, totally sleeping in peace. Then it totally clicks for him. The screaming is basically just a defense mechanism against big scary humans. They were totally chilling because this crazy place is literally their natural habitat. Thinking about it for a sec, he honestly wonders if these things just mistook him for a distant relative or something. He just shrugs it off and tucks the plants right into his belt. Honestly, that's way less stress for him to deal with. He heads out totally daydreaming about brewing some hot tea and maybe even scoring some sweet fruit for dessert. But he remembers that forcefully picked fruit just turns straight into poison. He's definitely gonna have to sweet talk these plants later. Suddenly, his OP radar goes totally crazy. There's a squad of hunters nearby on this super dangerous mountain. Cracking a little smirk, he decides to crash their party and permanently borrow some portal stones. A bit further ahead, this group is completely screwed. They got used as totally disposable bait and left to die. His partner quickly tells him to suck it up and stop crying. The monsters are already circling back for round 2. They're totally surrounded by these psycho snow rabbits with razor-sharp teeth. Things are about to get seriously ugly, and these beasts definitely aren't playing any games. One with a completely messed up tentacle mouth is already drooling over them. Trying to hold off the horde, one guy throws up a magic barrier, but totally massive cracks are already starting to show. Sweating bullets, the hunter instantly realizes his shield isn't going to last much longer. With the shield totally shattering, absolute panic sets in. He immediately regrets taking this trash tier mission. Completely defenseless, he just screams for help. He watches the killer rabbits launch themselves right at his face. Right then, this blur just completely blitzes through the air. A massive explosion completely wipes the whole pack off the map. Slowly opening his eyes, the hunter sees the surviving monsters growling at something, looking completely confused. This totally badass silhouette walks right out of the smoke. The guy literally has no clue if this thing is even human. It's our MC, rocking his totally unimpressed face. He's totally ready to just deal with this annoyance. He takes one look at these completely bizarre creatures. He honestly wonders if you can even call these things rabbits. Right in the middle of all this chaos, the totally sinister boss beast steps out. It drops your classic, totally cliche boss roar, completely ignoring the big bad. The kid literally just swats the rabbits away with a total flick of his wrist, sending them all running. The hunters are left totally speechless. A completely vicious monster just ran for its life simply from his aura, almost crying tears of joy. One of the guys is super thankful he didn't just get sent straight to the lobby. He introduces himself as Kim. Then he hears our MC totally casually drop his own name right back. Finding the MC's totally busted hobo fit super weird, the guy totally assumes he's just some crazy reclusive hunter. Meanwhile, his partner is totally confused about what a newbie is doing out here. He wonders if the kid is just desperate for some fast cash. Listening super closely, our boy overhears them totally talking about hunting down a runaway chimera. As they explain the whole rogue machine situation, the MC instantly realizes they are actually hunting him at all. Feeling totally relieved, he asks if he can snag a portal stone, but the hunter tells him they seriously don't have any gear left. Spilling the whole ugly truth, the guy reveals their totally trash tier bosses ran off with absolutely everything. It's straight up betrayal. Gripping his busted arm, he curses out loud. He realizes this totally toxic trap was planned from the very beginning, bitterly regretting falling for that scumbag leader's lies. The guy just needed some completely disposable live bait. Putting all the pieces together, Duwoon figures out the traitors have all the stones. It's totally hunting season. Seeing him just turn his back to leave, the guys start totally panicking. They're seriously at their absolute limit with the mana contamination. After all, staying in this zone without a purifier is a literal game over. RMC is the only one OP enough to totally tank this toxic environment. Crying about his pregnant wife, the guy begs for help. Meanwhile, our MC is already tracking the scumbag's scent. Totally ignoring the heavy drama, Duwoon jumps with with enough force to literally crack the ground. He's seriously got better things to do right now. He leaves the guys completely screaming in absolute despair. They just watch their one and only hope literally vanish into the sky. Cutting right back to that busted little robot from earlier. It's just chilling right near the edge of this totally sketchy cliff. Then those backstabbing traitors run right into the robot. The toxic leader immediately orders his whole squad to jump it, instantly detecting the totally obvious threat. The little machine whips out some seriously unfriendly looking tools, flashing its red visor. The system's prime directive is totally simple: eliminate absolutely every single threat. Rushing right in, the squad jumps at it with their weapons totally drawn. They're fully ready to turn this thing into scrap metal. A little bit later, our MC finally pulls up to the spot. He totally wonders if he got there a little too late. Checking out the totally blood-stained snow and abandoned gear, he quickly notices they seriously hauled ass out of there. Checking out the totally weird mix of kid and animal footprints, he immediately realizes this creature fought by totally shapeshifting. He figures out this thing has some insanely flexible DNA. It's totally capable of adapting on the fly in the middle of a fight. Putting that together with the crazy story from the hunters, all the little puzzle pieces start perfectly clicking into place. It's totally straight up liquid metal. It can morph into a wolf, a snake, or even a kid. It's an insanely rare top-tier material. He totally cracks up at the situation. He honestly finds it hilarious that some little junk robot completely folded 5 grown-ass men. Cutting back to the left-behind hunters, Kim is totally desperate, trying to keep his buddy awake who's seriously fading fast, turning totally purple from the toxic mana poisoning. The guy brings up that his totally newborn kid is due any day now. He begs his partner to tell his wife that he's so sorry. It's honestly a completely heartbreaking total gut punch of a scene. But then, right like a total miracle, our MC's bare foot completely touches down in the snow right next to them, whipping his head around in absolute shock. The hunter instantly feels like their totally lost hope is finally back from the dead. Cheon Do-woon is standing right freaking there, and he's casually holding every single one of the backpacks he just totally reclaimed. Not only did he bring the backpacks, but the absolute badass even scored some new boots so he wouldn't freeze his feet on the ice. Looking at our MC like an absolute angel, the hunter drops to his knees and begs him to save his buddy. But the kid is just straight up bored and remembers the portal stone. So the hunter says he's got the perfect fix. He pulls 2 10 million won checks out of his pocket. That was literally their entire life savings. 20 million won was totally useless down here, but it would come in super handy back in the human world. Right then, he just materializes a portal stone right in his hand. The kid is straight up magic. As the dimensional rift opens, the guy is practically in tears, thanking him, and swears eternal gratitude. While his partner gets some much needed first aid, our MC just stares at the massive stack of cash he just scored. He asks about the original price. The beat up hunter explains that nowadays it goes for 1 million won. Without even blinking, he tells the guy he overpaid. The kid is totally honest, even while extorting people. Flashing a little smirk, he says the change wasn't gonna be in cash. It was gonna be in pure power. He wraps them both in blue mana. The guy totally freaks out, thinking he was about to get pumped full of raw energy. Going into full panic mode, he tries to stop it right then and there. He just knew this was gonna end badly. After all, pure energy is super dangerous. It could straight up shatter their mana cores for good. But to his absolute surprise, a warm feeling washes over him and purifies all the dark energy in his body. His buddy recovers on the spot. The two of them just hug it out, crying tears of joy. They thank him again and watch the kid walk away. They're just left wondering who the heck that guy even was. Getting back to base, he immediately does a quick sweep just to make sure there weren't any intruders around. Seeing his little house totally untouched, he celebrates the extra cash from such a crazy productive outing. But then he looks at the mandrakes on his shoulder. They were looking pretty wilted from the trip. Since our badass gardener never takes a break, he instantly starts prepping the soil to get them planted. And the little plants just keep grumbling. They seem pretty mad about their new living setup. He wonders if they were just cranky or actually hungry. Then a totally brilliant idea hits him. He offers them a little bit of his own mana. The tiny creatures absolutely love it and perk right up, seeing them bouncing around with full bellies. Our boy figures out they were native monsters too. Right after that, his radar goes off. He feels some kind of weird presence getting closer. Hiding out in the bushes, the little robot was silently watching everything. It was the exact target those hunters were after. Stashing his cash inside the cabin, our MC decides to save save it for a way better opportunity down the road. Now it was time to organize his loot. He sits down and starts digging through the stolen backpacks. He finds a full camping kit with a stove, some pots, and even a bunch of brand new portal stones. Not to mention clean clothes, sleeping bags, and a blanket. That is just pure adventurer luxury right there. Praising how well prepared those guys were, he realizes he totally hit the jackpot with that rescue. Finding a pack of spicy ramen in the middle of the stash just hit him with a massive wave of nostalgia. With his stomach already growling, the kid gets super hyped and decides to play Master Chef. The recipe called for 500 milliliters of water, so he just completely eyeballed it. While letting the fresh waterfall water boil, he starts thinking about what toppings to add to his soup. Just then, a piranha jumps straight out of the lake. It was practically volunteering to be the main course, since everyone loves upgrading their ramen. Throwing that fish in seemed like an awesome idea. With one clean strike, he knocks the beast out in mid-air. His reflexes were seriously on point. Did he need some eggs for the recipe? Well, fish roe was gonna work perfectly, and instead of green onions, he just went and grabbed some random leaves off a tree. With all his ingredients ready to go, he heads back to his little makeshift kitchen. He drops the pot on the wooden table. His gourmet dish was practically done. Still hiding out in the bushes, the little robot was super curious watching this human cook. Lighting up the fire, our chef's only real question was when exactly to drop the fish in, so he just cooks it all together and tosses the seasoning straight onto his makeshift log table. But the mandrakes look like they are at a funeral. They start sniffing and crying non-stop. The smell of that stuff was so downright toxic that they felt sick. They were almost puking their guts out, sending up this totally foul black smoke. His recipe turned into a straight-up biological weapon against the nose. Even though the machine could smell that awful stench, the absolute munchies ended up speaking way louder. Figuring out a way to taste that steaming slop, the grand plan swung right into action. Knowing humans love dogs, the genius idea was to just appeal straight to cuteness, transforming into a little limping poodle. The whole tactic was to use some good old emotional blackmail. Hearing the puppy whimper, Dowoon instantly realizes it was just a robot in disguise. Getting super suspicious, he just wonders if this was a trap to make him drop his guard. But seeing the little guy wagging his tail, he realizes it was basically just a totally innocent kid. With the ramen finally done, he offers a little bit. The tiny puppy just barks happily. Serving up that questionable slop, the dog is literally drooling with its eyes sparkling from hunger. Staring at the totally purple soup full of leaves, our MC hesitates. He wasn't even sure if it was edible. Working up the courage to take a bite, the little puppy was already eating straight out of his bowl. Scarfing it all down fast, the dog starts whining. It was totally confused by the taste. But that flavor just brings back old memories of eating ramen with his buddies back at the orphanage. It brought back such a warm memory right in the middle of all this tragedy. The taste was actually really good. Getting hit with pure nostalgia, the flavor was exactly like it was when he was 7 years old. He says it was delicious, but the little puppy just looks at him, totally not understanding a thing. With that toxic smell lingering in the air, the mandrakes can't hold it back anymore and just puke everywhere. Calling the feast over, he tells the dog to go take a walk so he can clean everything up. Watching the little dog happily trot away, our boy keeps his eyes on him. He was still super suspicious. Calling out that he was limping on the wrong paw, the little machine completely freezes up. Super embarrassed, the little guy switches his limp and sneaks off. Our MC was just cracking up. With the dishes all washed, our boy was ready to play housewife and tackle the laundry. Grumbling about having to wear leather clothes, he remembers his awful experiences with that pollen. Grabbing a stick to beat and wash his clothes, he tries to go super easy on it, but his brute strength straight up shatters the whole ground. He is completely shocked by his own raw power. Staring at the broken stick in the dirt, he realizes he was basically a threat to himself. Scowling hard, he tries to chill out. At least he still had another club he could use. Flashing a completely determined look, round 2 of laundry was officially starting. Suddenly, a little pebble with eyes pops up in the corner. It was the tiny robot again. Snooping around the whole time, it even disguised itself as a fish fin near the dishes. The robot was even creeping around the flowers, straight up pretending to be a tree stump. But that disguise failed miserably when a super annoying little bee got way too close. Going into total panic mode, the little machine just runs off screaming for help. It gets super pissed off and flares up a red aura. That completely proved it had the mentality of a kid. Right then, our MC notices the stiff, totally robotic way the creature was talking. That was a classic side effect of knowledge being forcefully shoved into young chimeras. Acting super shy, the robot hides in the flowers and spits out compliments in its little GPS voice. Holding his one and only surviving t-shirt, Dowoon finally admits that doing laundry is pretty tough. He stares at the only piece of clothing that survived his washing. The rest of it was literally turned to dust. Hanging what was left on the clothesline, he decides to go check up on his mandrakes. Way in the back of the yard, the little rock robot was watching everything with its bright orange eyes. Seeing the clothes blowing on the line, the little rust bucket figures it could use some too. It sneaks over and swipes the shirt, throwing it on. The machine decides that piece of clothing belonged to it now. Since the shirt was massive, it basically turned into a dress. The robot was super hyped and checking itself out. Out of nowhere, the metal starts glowing. Then this beautiful brown hair just sprouts right out of its head, clenching those robotic hands super tight. A completely brand new form was starting to emerge, transforming into a super cute little girl. She instantly tells herself she has officially reached perfection. Getting to his garden, our MC finds his mandrakes all wilted. He has absolutely no clue what happened. Thinking it was super weird, he pulls up one of the roots from the clean dirt and is just completely lost, ripping out a bunch of roots in total panic. He definitely proved he was the absolute worst plant dad in the world. Totally regretting the massive mess he made, he decides to measure out the space and build a real legit garden. Right in the middle of his planning, a tiny voice pops up. It's the robot Lolly, looking all shy and just saying hi. Our badass MC gets a massive jump scare. Thinking she's a real girl, he answers back acting totally awkward. Pointing at the house, she asks if he lives there. The kid proudly confirms that he does. Feeling curious, the girl wants to know if he's a local native. Seeing a golden opportunity, our MC decides to mess with her. So he asks what tribe she came from. The poor thing totally freezes up, not knowing what to make up. In pure panic, she just points at nothing. So he gives her a little push and suggests the coconut tribe. Grabbing right onto that idea, she nervously confirms that she came from that exact place. Trying not to laugh, our MC points out that their clothes are exactly the same. Caught red-handed, the girl just hits him with a finder's keeper's rule and doubles down on her lie. Laughing at the whole situation, he just plays along. The little Lolly lets out a tiny squeal of pure joy. Keeping the joke going, he asks what she's doing there. Looking super embarrassed, the girl says she has a favor to ask. Without missing a beat, she throws herself on the ground and straight up begs to live with him. Wanting to know why, he hears that there aren't any bugs around here. That bee trauma hit her pretty hard. Clasping her hands together, she explains that the place looks safe and she just wants a little peace and quiet. Flashing a little smirk, he gets that the girl just needs a safe spot to rest. He agrees, but warns her right away that she's gonna have to work. Super happy, she instantly accepts the challenge. First mission is prepping the garden. After all, the mandrakes need a proper home. Grabbing a stick all hyped up, she takes on the job and totally brags about her own strength. And she seriously wasn't lying. She swings that wood like a truck and sends dirt flying everywhere. Watching from a distance, he figures the girl is either super naive or just doesn't care about hiding her true self. When he asks for her name, the Lolly looks super surprised, like she never even thought about it before. Since she doesn't have one, she decides to make one up on the spot, remembering that pretty flower she saw earlier. Resting the club on her shoulder, she puffs out her chest and cockily declares that she's Kim Nari. The kid gets a bit confused and asks if that has anything to do with that yellow flower. Getting a little mad, the Lolly screams that she is Kim Nari, and that's the end of it. Thanks to the girl's brute strength, the garden is done in a flash, and our MC secures the fence. Seeing the mandrakes jumping around happily in the dirt, he realizes he should have done this way sooner, but right in the middle of the party, Nari just stops in dead silence and watches the scene unfold. Finding that silence pretty weird, our badass notices her expression suddenly change. Starting to cry out of nowhere, she tells him that the plant's happiness reminded her of her old friends. Obviously, he finds that story suspicious. Having friends inside a laboratory would be super unlikely. Right then, her memories hit hard. The girl basically short-circuits and relives some heavy trauma. Screams echo out and this bizarre energy takes over. Her little house of horrors just opened its doors. Trying to calm the girl down, he hears that she saw a cute little monster getting attacked far away. Tuning into the fight, our MC confirms the little beast is taking an absolute beating in the forest. Seeing the girl looking so sad, our badass tests the waters and asks if she wants to go save the animal. Totally glitching out, she says she can't help monsters. He instantly realizes she's been brainwashed. Calling the little girl over to take a peek, the Loli just goes into total shock, but she doesn't think twice. Yelling that she'll be right back, she blasts off and leaves the kid in the dust. Arriving at the spot, the scene is intense. A bunch of giant bugs are completely surrounding their prey. Knocked down on the ground, the cute little monster is practically accepting its sad fate. But Nori comes flying in, yelling at them to stop, and instantly materializes a metal blade. With tears in her eyes, she's more than determined to save the tiny creature. Back in the day, Robot Nari was the best at all the tests, which left the other test subjects terrified. Until one day, a little yellow beast showed up completely beaten. History was literally repeating itself. Getting completely trashed by the scientists, she kept crying and repeating that she was just following orders. It was just pure sadness. Getting beaten non-stop, up, she cried and begged for it all to end. Then, the rage finally boils over. In her memory, her hand crushes the ground with an insane amount of force. Snapping back to the present, the girl explodes with power and charges at the bugs out of pure hatred. Totally furious, she warns them that ganging up on one guy is not gonna fly on her watch. Screaming that bullying is wrong, she sends all those monsters straight to the afterlife with a single strike. While the apocalypse is going down over there, our MC is just chilling and feeding treats to his little plants. Until Nari arrives in a full panic screaming for the boss. He turns around and tells the girl to hurry up. Frantic with the little beast in her arms, she cries and says he won't wake up. Completely limp with its little eyes spinning, the poor thing was successfully knocked out cold. Asking her to chill out, our MC takes a look at the creature and quickly realizes he's seen this thing before. With the girl borderline freaking out, he steps up and offers to check the beast out. Activating healer mode, he focuses a little bit of mana right into his fingertips. Quick checkup complete. The kid calms her down and says the little pet isn't in any real danger. He explains that the little monster's energy basically carries its entire life story, and it instantly clicks. In his memory, he sees that exact same giant snow wolf. Staring at the cute little fluff ball, it all makes perfect sense. It's the exact same beast, just a pocket-sized version. That leaves our badass super confused by the whole situation. But Nari just wants to know if her little buddy is gonna live. Keeping it real, he tells her the beast is just hungry. The girl looks completely confused, saying he already gave it a mana boost. He tells it to rest, but she doesn't take her eyes off it. That scene throws Nari straight back into the past, remembering holding her friend back in the lab. It was a seriously cruel memory of her lifeless friend, where she couldn't do a single thing in time. Hugging the little furball tight, she knows if they leave him there, that tragic history is going to repeat itself. Practically crying, she begs to adopt the little monster and promises to take care of it and feed it a lot. Laughing to himself about the massive monster this thing turns into, he listens to her swear she'll only feed it a little kibble. Since he just can't resist, our badass finally caves in. The girl breaks into a giant smile, totally in disbelief. Thinking on the practical side, our MC figures the pocket beast could turn into a pretty solid guard dog. Speak of the devil, the little guy opens his eyes all groggy, having no clue where he ended up. The second he locks eyes with our MC, he instantly recognizes the scary dude who completely wrecked him before. Still sitting in Nari's lap, he wakes up fueled by pure hatred, just growling and glaring at our boy. Getting a massive scare, the girl doesn't understand why her cute pet suddenly turned into pure evil out of nowhere. Lifting the beast up all happy, she thinks his growl is just pigeon noises, which sends the monster into a total panic. Hugging him super tight, she celebrates while the creature thrashes around trying to escape her death grip. Right then, the beast screams, and what takes our MC completely by surprise is that he understands every single word. With the treatment done, Neri puffs out her chest with pride and announces she already picked a name. It's gonna be Goo because of the pigeon noise. Our MC thinks it's chill, but the beast just wants to run away. Getting completely outraged, Goo tries to warn them that nobody authorized this and he already has a name, thinking his struggling means he's thirsty. The loli straight up dumps a bucket of freezing water on the poor guy, completely soaked. The little monster begs for mercy. Even our MC suggests she stop drowning the poor thing. So Neri bets its hunger and runs off like a maniac to find some snacks for him. Leaving all that mess behind, our MC grabs his tools and decides to play carpenter for a bit. Sorting out some thick wooden logs, he starts planning out a super functional cabinet. But right as he goes for the cut, he stops. Our badass feels that something is totally off about the wood. Asking out loud what went wrong, he doesn't even notice Inspector Goo keeping a close eye on his work. The little beast quickly points out that the log's color is wrong. It's just some super soft and useless wood. Getting curious, our MC asks what the right color would be, and the pet drops an obvious stating it should be red. Suddenly, the little monster freezes up with its eyes wide open. Our MC understood absolutely everything. Right then, our badass repeats the word out loud, making little Goo almost lose his mind completely. Feeling a little suspicious about this weird chat, the kid decides to take a tiny peek into the pet's mind. With zero hesitation, he activates his telepathy to read the gossip straight from the mental source. Finding a dark mind completely filled with red eyes, our MC is absolutely blown away. When he tries to ask about another habitat, the beast gets totally pissed off and throws up a mental wall. Completely terrified, Goo asks how the heck this bizarre human can actually hear his thoughts. Totally chill about it, our MC replies that the words just pop into his head, getting pretty intrigued himself. Pressing the little beast against the wall, he wants to know how a monster speaks human. Goo just instantly instantly freezes cold, coming to the conclusion that this guy is a super intelligent monster. That is an absolute rarity. No beating around the bush, he just straight up asks if they've met before. That little furball looks way too familiar, and Gu confirms it, saying he was actually looking for him, leaving our boy pretty confused. He explains that he just wants to return the favor from back when the MC saved his immortal core. Since the kid isn't dumb, he cashes in that favor right then and there, catching the beast totally off guard. Closing his eyes for a second, the little monster thinks it over and makes his choice. Looking super determined, he rips off his bandages to become their official guide to the Red Forest. But out of nowhere, a fireball blasts right into Nari. The poor girl goes into a full-blown panic. With the flames spreading everywhere, she screams in pure terror from that insane heat. A massive explosion completely blows her away, ruining whatever chill vibe they had going on. Pinned down and terrified, the little girl cries. She genuinely thinks the lab guys came back for her, and she wasn't even tripping. Some mysterious guy rolls up with a tracker to analyze her metamorphosis, walking right out of the flames looking dead serious. He admits that attacking a kid isn't cool, but it's gotta be done. Staring her down, he drops that classic villain speech about how his own life is on the line. Then he immediately charges up this massive fire attack without a single ounce of mercy. Seeing the absolute worst coming, Nari shuts her eyes and screams. She really thinks this is game over. Right then, our MC steps up and casually blocks the attack with one hand, and he's still got the pet on his shoulder, who warns him dead serious that chopping wood can wait. Their priorities just shifted big time. He gets totally locked in on saving the girl first, showing some serious badass energy. Looking down at the shivering kid, he realizes her mental state is completely wrecked right now. With Gu chilling on his shoulder, the kid glares at the villain. He calls him out for being a total coward against a child. Freaked out by this, the long-haired dude tells him to get lost. He claims his only target is the little girl, but our boy states it pissed. This guy rolls up, setting fire to his backyard and thinks he can call the shots, complaining that his meal got ruined. The hero tells this invader to beat it right now. Acting all cocky, the villain says he talks way too much. Then he charges up his fire magic to just nuke everything. But the MC ain't playing around. He points a glowing finger right at him to show who's actually in charge. With just a simple flick, he shoots out a lightning bolt that slices right through the fire like butter. Just insanely OP, leaving the long-haired dude completely mind-blown. He just watched his ultimate attack get swatted away like nothing. He takes the blast head-on, sending rocks flying everywhere. The poor guy didn't even have time to blink. He walks over to Nari and asks if she's alright. The girl nods, finally calming down a bit. She slowly wipes her tears away and quietly thanks him for putting out all those scary flames. He tells her the best way to beat her fear is to literally punch it. Then he points right at their new human punching bag lying in the dirt. He grabs a lunatic right by his thick hair. It's time for some much-needed shock therapy. Still giving his little speech about conquering fear, he casually delivers a massive slap right across the invader's face. But he ends up holding a giant clump of hair in his hand. Did he actually hit him way too hard? Nope, the villain is just laid out completely bald. His fake hair disguise finally got exposed. The MC is dead-ass shocked. This dude was bald the entire time, even though he looks super young. That smooth, shiny dome is out here reflecting more light than the sun. Talk about a crazy plot twist. This makes the little girl instantly bust out laughing. She even jokes about how bald people are just hilarious. Laughing her heart out, all that leftover fear just completely vanishes, getting over her trauma through pure roasting. But Gu realizes she really isn't grasping how serious things are right now, so he steps in to help. He uses his mental resonance to share some seriously dark memories so she finally gets the picture. He explains that this specific skill is built just to beam memories directly into someone else's mind, flashing the super creepy image of a psycho-scientist laughing in a dark, messed up lab, with this terrifying smile on his face, staring right at that metallic slime, which was actually Nari's original form. Mocking her for trying to escape, the creep was obviously getting a huge kick out of watching her suffer. With his hand glowing in this crazy blue energy, he forces her to come closer. She literally couldn't say no. He claims it's just a test, but that terrifying energy around him makes it pretty obvious he's lying. Our MC gives her some gentle head pats to comfort her. He knows a deep trauma like that doesn't just disappear overnight. Now he's got to figure out what to do with the knocked out bald guy. Meanwhile, Gu just casually pokes the loser's belly. Getting an absolute genius idea, the little girl gets super hyped. Cut to a giant waterfall and their new new master plan is already in full swing. They literally tied the bald dude up right under the freezing water just to help him cool his head a bit. She's celebrating that water totally counters fire. Meanwhile, this dude is absolutely crying on the inside, but our hero actually feels a tiny bit bad for him. He tells him to chill out and stop roasting the guy's awful hairline. While just casually cooking, he notices the kid's hyper energy and knows she's gonna bounce back in no time. He heads down to the river to fill up his pot, totally focused on getting lunch ready. Right then, Gu asks what they're making, and he finds out ramen is on the menu today. Hearing that magic word, the girl immediately starts hyping up the boss's legendary fish dish. Smiling, our boy jokes around and asks if the coconut tribe actually eats stuff like this too. Panicking a bit, she nods yes, so he instantly dives right into the water to hunt down some extra ingredients. Watching this whole thing go down, the bald dude is absolutely positive this kid is an A-rank hunter at minimum. As the MC takes a dive, the guy swears he's some super reclusive, totally broken master. He only measures out enough water for 3 people, leaving the bald guy absolutely stunned by his cold-blooded exclusion. Ripping 2 massive piranhas straight out of the water, the little girl proudly announces she secured the protein. Told to only use 1 fish, she immediately yells at the old man to toss the extra one back. Totally terrified, the bald guy starts freaking out. He genuinely thinks that monster meat is gonna taste like complete garbage. With the fish dumped in the pot, the grown man nearly has a heart attack watching them ruin the water-to-noodle ratio. He screams his lungs out at this absolute culinary crime, while the little girl is just happily jumping around with Gu. Now the 3 of them just stare at the bubbling pot with a super ominous vibe, and the munchies are hitting them hard. Backed into a corner, the bald guy begs them to untie him, promising he'll cook the ramen the exact right way. He takes his stance under some imaginary dramatic spotlight, because cooking ramen is serious business, man. With pure surgical precision, he rips open that seasoning packet with an ungodly level of respect, holding the noodle brick like it's some legendary artifact. I mean, his life literally depends on this meal. Meanwhile, the MC and the girl are just watching him intensely, radiating this super dark aura of pure starvation. Getting all poetic, the bald guy declares that ramen is a dish of absolute purity, so he sticks strictly to the traditional method, relying purely on his chef instincts to measure the water, literally staring into his own soul through the reflection on the pot, tossing all the ingredients in and mentally calculating exactly 4 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. He counts the time using his own actual heartbeat, marking exactly 270 beats. Locked in like a Buddhist monk, just waiting for the culinary magic to happen around beat 200. Lifting the noodles up high to let them catch some air, looking like a legit master chef doing it. Using that secret technique specifically to make the noodles way more bouncy and perfectly al dente. And even though it kills him that they don't have any good kimchi to pair with it, he's got to work with what he's got. He cracks a super satisfied smile, proud that he delivered an absolute masterpiece, even with his life on the line. Finally presenting his ultimate masterpiece to the group, Chef Nam Gisok's signature pure ramen. And the system actually rates it a solid 90 out of 100, giving it the official seal of approval instantly. He hands out portions to the 2 of them, but Nari looks kinda suspicious since it looks nothing like her usual purple noodles. He grabs his chopsticks and takes that first highly anticipated bite, ready to drop the final verdict. And the taste is just so mind-blowing that they completely devour their bowls like there's no tomorrow. Right from that very first bite, there's this massive flavor explosion that leaves everyone speechless. It honestly feels like they ascended straight to paradise, experiencing the true taste of culinary purity. Neri literally asks if humans get to eat this god-tier food every day, while the MC just nods his full approval. Even Gu lets out a huge, satisfied burp, proving this cooking mission was an absolute success. Seeing that completely empty pot, the bald dude proudly asks how they liked his masterpiece. Slapping a hand right on the back of the bald guy's neck, our boy tells him to spit out whatever it is he wants. He says he kind of feels bad getting a free meal out of him, so he gives the guy permission to ask for one favor. Gulping nervously and looking a bit awkward, the old guy admits he already has something in mind. Dropping his forehead straight to the dirt, he instantly begs our MC to train him so he can level up his strength, leaving our MC totally confused, like where the hell did this random training request even come from? The bald dude then explains that the MC is clearly the strongest guy around, and he plans on sticking by his side for a while. Kicking off the interview straight away, he pitches his skills and even offers up his famous fried chicken. He straight up begs to be their errand boy for supplies. He swears he's gonna pay whatever it takes for some lessons. The dude is dreaming of hitting A ranks, but our boy cuts him off, asking him about the attack on Nari. He whispers that she's from the coconut tribe. He tells him to just roll with it and stay in character. The guy is totally clueless but confirms it on the spot. That basically makes this whole made-up legend official. With tears in his eyes, he claims the beef was super personal, dropping an absolute Oscar-worthy performance. He even blows up, saying he doesn't give a crap about the money and just wants to pass his promotion exam. Our guide tells him to get up already. That totally catches the big crybaby off guard. He wants a real rematch to earn his keep. That gets the big guy all emotional. But the girl is holding her empty pot and wants a piece of the action too, looking totally hyped. At that, the boss asks if she's really sure about this. He warns her things are about to get spicy. She's full of attitude and remembers the advice. She is so ready to test her technique and put out this fire. He just laughs it off, thinking he's the ultimate badass. Meanwhile, the girl glares at him, totally ready to lay down a beatdown. Changing the subject, our boy challenges him to smash a rock right there. That kicks off the real test. The bald guy turns ghost white the second he recognizes the rock. It's literally harder than diamond. He drops a basic taunt, doubting the guy's strength. The bait works like an absolute charm. He laughs nervously because that thing is tough to crack. You'd need an A-rank hunter at the very least to break it. But before he can even finish his excuse, he gets smacked across the room. That puts a quick end to his yapping. His face is all messed up and he has no clue what just happened. He is totally lost after getting drop-kicked out of nowhere. The Nari steps up, demanding her turn to fight. Her hands are dripping with water as she calls him out for a one-on-one. Now we get a little backstory on our tragic bald dude. Back in the day, he was actually a massive prodigy. He awakened his powers at just 8 years old. The kid was a straight-up anomaly. He breezed through the B-rank exam without breaking a sweat and watched his hunter career absolutely skyrocket. He'd fight looking all majestic with his glorious hair and literal fire in his hands. The guy was oozing talent. He grinded non-stop and hit B ranks before turning 20. His success was pretty much guaranteed. He kept racking up the fame, dreaming of becoming the ultimate top tier. He literally had it all, until one day in the shower he notices something super weird. The ultimate nightmare had officially begun. He stares at his hands in pure panic at the sight of loose hairs. He had just discovered a fatal flaw. While everyone else was leveling up their powers, he was just awakening male pattern baldness. The dude fell into total despair. He was in his early 20s and the top was already thinning out. By the time he hit 25, he literally had Vegeta's hairline. He tried every treatment under the sun, but the doctors told him it was all gonna fall out eventually. He ended up sobbing in the corner. He had officially lost the battle against the bald spot. He was packed with talent, but his genetics showed zero mercy. He left the clinic hanging his head in shame. He lost all his swagger right along with his hair. His confidence went straight down the drain. His career hit a massive wall. He got clowned on during the A-rank exam and ended up getting totally disqualified. His whole life was falling apart. He ended up tossed to the curb like absolute trash tier garbage. Until one night, he's watching TV at ungodly hours and sees some doc talking about a weird research project. The guy explains how he dropped a rare metal on his head and ended up creating this crazy mechanical beast. Then he shows off the real miracle. The 90-year-old dude was rocking a glorious mane of hair. Our bald guy is left in total shock. He finally got his hope back, thinking he found the ultimate cure. He hears on the screen that the kingdom is overflowing with opportunities. You can literally see the stars in his eyes. But then he gets super pissed off. The scientist built a robot instead of just selling the baldness cure to the masses. He straight up punches the screen. He screams that hair is the true necessity for all of humanity. Then they drop the bombshell that the beast escaped to another kingdom. That literally changes everything. A switch flips in his head right then and there. He figures it's a lawless zone over there, so it's strictly finders keepers. He cracks a maniacal smile. He comes up with a genius plan to just slap that pure metal right onto his dome. Snapping back to the present, he's currently eating dirt. He watches his master plan literally go down the drain. He stares at the girl, totally mind-blown by her insane strength. Meanwhile, she is happily celebrating her win. Our boy starts chewing him out for not landing a single clean hit. It's pure humiliation. He looks out the window and lays down the facts. If he keeps fighting like this, there's absolutely zero chance they're gonna train him. This makes him beg for another shot. He swears he's gonna get better just to earn the master's approval. Looking super proud, our boy shows off the new cabinet. He even thanks the wolf for the solid tip along the way. The big guy watches from a distance, straight up admitting the girl is a badass. He definitely gains a lot more respect for her. He lets out a massive sigh after getting completely beat down all day. His whole body is practically jelly right now, but crazy enough, he actually feels super refreshed. It's like his soul just got 100 times lighter. He figures it's the buff he gets from ditching the wig. He lets out a battle cry, hyping himself up for round 2. The wolf points out that the dude's fire magic is actually pretty solid, but our MC reminds him that she's built different. The bald guy gets super cocky and announces he's taking the win this time, but the proto just tells him to bring it on. He charges in completely covered in flames. The guy is totally ready to drop his ultimate attack. He clashes head-on with Nari's water magic. That sets off a massive steam explosion all over the place. But then he realizes the water is is literally turning into liquid metal. It's an absolutely bizarre power. She instantly takes advantage and lands a movie tier spinning kick. She absolutely flattens the poor guy. She follows up with a crazy punch combo that straight up shatters the rocks. Her strength is completely off the charts. She celebrates like crazy now that she's totally over her fear of fire. She even thanks the big guy for the help. He is absolutely wrecked and just accepts his defeat. He realizes he's hit his limit as a B-rank hunter, but our boy tells him to get back up on his feet. He reminds him that he's the only one here getting a second chance. He gets back up with a huge grin on his face. The guy's already begging for another round, but his nose instantly starts bleeding. It just goes to show that pushing his limits definitely takes a toll. When asked how long he's been stuck there, he wipes the blood away and says it's his 9th straight day of fighting. He gets a strict warning to get the heck out of Dodge. If he stays, the mana corruption is gonna kill a low-rank hunter like him. But the MC actually praises his potential to hit A ranks. That leaves a big guy totally speechless. He vents about failing the exam 6 times in a row. He admits he was pretty much ready to throw in the towel. But our boy explains that the dude's mana cord just hasn't matured yet. He tells him to keep grinding. He gets super emotional and bows out of pure respect. His hope has been completely restored. He even gets some homework to properly purify his mana once he gets back home. He promises to grind like crazy so the kid can help him finally reach A rank. And since their food stash is completely wiped out, the bald dude offers to go fetch some right away. The two say their goodbyes with zero bad blood, but the guy obviously doesn't forget to ask about his missing wig, and our boy straight up plays dumb without even flinching. He acts like he has zero clue where it went. He leaves the poor guy frantically searching for it. Meanwhile, the little wolf is literally wearing the wig on its head, judging everyone. Just then, a blue aura fills up the whole room. It instantly chills out the vibe for everyone. The mascot is a bit suspicious and asks if everything is cool, but our boy completely ignores him. He explains the huge risk of getting stabbed in the back. Nari is super curious and wants to know more, but the little beast confirms that the guy's drive is totally legit. His desperation to level up is completely real. That gets a smile out of our boss. He respects the honesty and is totally down to train the big guy. Then the girl asks if he can actually understand what the mascot is saying. He casually confirms that he can. He takes the chance to show off the finished cabinet. She loves it, but points out that it's way too dark in there. He decides to fix the problem by knocking out a window right away. The grind literally never stops. He uses his own knife like a literal power drill. It's the most practical thing you've ever seen. The shorty is absolutely mesmerized by the new view. That fills our boss with some serious pride in his handiwork. But he mentions they're still gonna need light during the night. That leaves the little girl super curious about his plan. He suggests grabbing a glowing magic stone and hanging it right from the ceiling. That makes the little beast ask if he even knows where to find one of those. Of course, our boy is always one step ahead. The answer is straight up the volcano region. That totally locks it in as the crew's next destination. But the little beast starts shaking in its boots. It warns them that the volcano is literally one of the worst zones in the area. It breaks into a cold sweat and admits that place is actually its homeland. Meanwhile, Nari has no clue why it's so terrified. She pinches the little beast's cheeks, trying to figure out why it's acting so freaked out. She notices a total shift in its voice. The Proto actually praises the shorty for catching onto that so fast. He explains why the mascot is so scared and decides he's just gonna solo this mission. He plans to leave those two behind, but she puts her foot down and insists on tagging along. She says she isn't scared of fire anymore, which totally catches our boy off guard. Crossing his arms, Gu decides he's gonna tag along to sort some stuff out. The MC agrees and tells everyone to gear up. He gets a heat-resistant outfit ready to go. Out in the garden, the mandrakes are literally throwing a party, jumping around in this weird shadow on the ground. With the volcano erupting and lava everywhere, things are literally heating up. Suddenly, these giant eyes pop out of the smoke. It definitely shows there's a massive beast lurking right there, out of nowhere. This creature made of lava and shadow starts crying mysterious tears. Arriving at the volcanic region, the squad steps into one of the top 3 worst zones in the area. With toxic air and razor-sharp ash flying around, taking a breath here is basically a death sentence. Gu is super stressed out. He grumbles that this place is so low-key that barely anyone knows how dangerous it actually is. But Nari is just happily playing around with the lava. That leaves the little beast completely mind-blown. The Proto calms Gu down by explaining that she's a robot. He casually mentions that he literally hunts chimeras. Gu is super confused about his human form, so our boy explains his insanely OP monster regeneration. He asks if the mascot is cool with that. Meanwhile, Nari is practically melting in the insane heat. Gu cracks a smile and says it's honestly great to have some company. That leaves our boy feeling pretty relieved. But right then, the gear on the girl's feet actually starts melting from the crazy high temperature. She runs up all hyped and asks if they need any help with the mission. She yells out that the boss is a local here just like her. That totally shocks Gu, since he thought he was the only native. The Proto points at some glowing stones right by the lava. He lets them know they've officially made it to the crater. Looking way up at the top of the mountain, the shorty's jaw literally hits the floor. She celebrates making it all the way to the peak. Meanwhile, the Proto stays super focused on the actual objective. He spots the shiny stone right away, but he quickly realizes a massive fire toad is guarding the peak. He notices a super bizarre detail. The giant monster is literally crying its eyes out non-stop. Right then, Neri points to another giant toad that is passed out nearby. Taking a quick look at the scene, our boy figures it out. It's the female, and she clearly didn't survive carrying all those eggs. Gu steps up and explains that they carry their eggs on their backs during mating season, and since she's totally gone, the eggs aren't gonna survive the heat. That's exactly why the big guy is crying so much. She feels super bad for the giant toad's family. Meanwhile, our boy is already calculating his next move. He tells them to hold up. He plants his foot on the burning rock and preps for his strike. He completely dashes toward the beast. That makes Nori absolutely scream in pure panic at how crazy this is. He pulls up right in the giant fire monster's face. The dude is showing some seriously otherworldly courage. Gu screams at him to back off, but the big toad is already furious and starts charging up a heavy attack. He warns the squad not to get any closer since the beast is super sensitive right now. He clearly already has a plan in motion, but the monster completely ignores him. It just charges up a massive fireball right in its mouth. It unleashes a massive blast that torches absolutely everything. Nari straight up thinks the boss is a goner, but our boy just sticks his hand out and totally tanks the massive flames without breaking a sweat. He gets up close and gives the big toad a light tap right on the forehead. The beast is totally confused. He tells the beast to chill out, and in that exact second, the giant monster drops completely knocked out. He shows off the snake venom coating his hands. He lets them know it's just a temporary paralysis debuff. Nari quickly asks if he's doing okay. The Proto just smiles and says he's totally fine. He explains that he actually has fire toad cells in his body, but sadly, there was absolutely nothing left to do for the female. He promises to save the living ones. Meanwhile, the tiny little eggs start glowing a bright golden color. The big toad wakes up and its eyes go wide. It's completely in shock once it realizes what just went down. It turns out the Proto used his own energy to stick the eggs right onto the dad's back. He turns his back to the beast, rocking that slightly crooked, angelic smirk on his face. The big toad gently rests its head against its fallen partner for one final, super sad goodbye. After that, the beast turns around and bows its head to our boy. It's showing some absolute, pure gratitude. Then it takes a jump so insanely high that it leaves little Nari with her jaw on the floor. It lands way off in the distance with the force of a literal meteor. The impact makes the entire ground shake. It looks back one last time with a single tear running down its face. The beast is just super grateful for everything, getting pretty emotional over the scene. Nari totally understands how the widowed toad is feeling. With one final jump, the big dad takes off with the whole brood. Neri just quietly watches him disappear into the distance. Getting all hyped up again, she mentions that the toad's look was a super sincere thank you. The Proto agrees. He realizes the beast probably remembered its lost partner when it looked over at Nari, quickly shifting focus. He lets them know it's time to grab the stone and get the heck out of there. Going full grind mode, the MC starts mining and pulls the glowing crystal straight out of the rock. Meanwhile, Nari uses her crazy super strength to yank out a giant boulder. She flashes this super cute smile while doing it. She's absolutely mesmerized by the beautiful ore. But the Proto quickly warns her not to drop that massive thing on her foot. With his backpack completely stuffed, our boy definitely feels like the weight of this loot is going to be a serious drag. Gu is totally exhausted. He complains he used to play with these rocks all the time, but in this tiny form, he's absolutely struggling. Teasing the little guy, the Proto asks if he needs help carrying some gifts back for his friends. Gu turns bright red and yells that monsters don't have friends. He claims he was just gonna dump the junk right there. Our boy just smiles, totally seeing right through the act. He realizes the little beast is just super shy. He asks if Gyu misses his old squad. Gyu finally admits he really just wanted to say a proper goodbye. The Proto asks if he totally ditched his crew. That makes the little mascot awkwardly look away. We jump into a quick flashback of Gyu back when he was a phoenix. He was super confused by everything being completely red in that world. He explains that his high intelligence was actually a massive problem. He literally couldn't communicate with the rest of his kind. He totally felt like a fish out of water. Living surrounded by clueless animals was just incredibly lonely. So after completely failing to fit in, he just packed up and left to live a solo life. He grumbles that the flock didn't even notice he was gone. He flies around super annoyed while Nari keeps on mining. Suddenly, the little guy stops dead in midair. He warns them that he just heard a super suspicious noise nearby. Nari drops what she's doing and completely agrees. She definitely heard something super weird over there too. She runs over to check it out and finds a buried monster egg. She immediately calls the boss over to take a look. Seeing a giant crack in the shell, the prota jokes that Goo must have totally dropped a rock right on it. He explains that the baby monster actually has to break out of the shell on its own. That definitely leaves Nari looking super worried. He decides they're just gonna take the egg with them. That makes Goo absolutely freak out, calling it a terrible idea. Rocking a mischievous look on his face, our boy claims he has the absolute perfect nest waiting back at home. He is straight up decided on adopting the creature. Goo is super pissed because there's no way he wants to carry that ticking time bomb. He completely throws the blame on the mascot. Goo tries to defend himself, arguing that he's only thinking about Nari's safety, but AMC just flashes a super confident smile. He guarantees that he's gonna take care of absolutely everything himself. Seeing that crazy level of confidence in his eyes, Goo finally caves. He totally agrees to trust the boss's master plan. With the drama finally sorted out, our boy tells the squad to get back to mining the rest of the crystals. That leaves Nari completely hyped. She wants to dig everything up as fast as possible so they can finally head home. Cutting back to the little cabin, we're back at the sweet home of our crazy little tribe. They roll up right into the backyard. Meanwhile, Nari is carrying the giant egg like it's the ultimate treasure. Right then, the bald dude shows up asking where they vanished to. He's honestly pretty impressed by how fast they finished up. He tries to grab the bags to help them out, but the prota immediately stops and glares at him, clearly noticing something weird. He warns him that the backpacks are super heavy, but the big guy just laughs it off, swearing he can handle the weight. But the second he lifts that bag, he practically collapses on the spot. He starts begging to know what the heck is inside, but the prota completely ignores the question. He stares at the totally bruised up big guy and asks who the heck ran him over. It turns out Goo's so-called ultimate gift was literally just a packet of instant ramen left back at the volcano. So apparently the flock of phoenixes stared at that bright red packet without a single clue what it was. They ended up ripping the plastic open and eating the completely raw noodles. The birds were honestly throwing a massive feast. Snapping back to reality, our boy asks if his new apprentice got into a massive brawl to end up looking this wrecked. Looking super embarrassed, the bald dude confesses he got totally beat down during Neri's training sessions, but he's honestly super proud of it. But to quickly dodge the subject, he changes his tune and sprints off to serve everyone's dinner. A bit later on, our boy is just chilling, casually sculpting the glowing stone with his knife. Nari wanders over and asks what he's making. He explains that it's going to be a super cool lamp for the ceiling. He casually mentions he just wants to make their house look a lot nicer. That absolutely blows the little girl's mind. She starts praising his absolutely insane intelligence. She loves how easy it is for him to explain complex stuff to her. She mentions that he seems like a genuinely kind-hearted guy. We even get a quick image of that giant toad he saved flashing in the background. Neri casually drops that he totally seems like a dad. That absolutely catches our MC off guard. Changing the subject, he asks about her dad back at the tribe. The little girl just stammers, turning totally red. Meanwhile, the orange sunset leaves the whole vibe feeling super warm and peaceful. But Goo is already complaining that he's melting into a puddle. The heat is absolutely brutal for him. He is literally melting like Play-Doh on the ground. The insane temperature totally wrecked the poor guy. Suddenly, a bizarre shadow with glowing red eyes pops up near the egg. It basically looks like a creepy totem pole. It turns out to be a bunch of mandrakes stacked on top of each other in a super creepy tower. Things are getting serious. They launch a combined attack on a creature that was literally just trying to take a nap. They yell out Mandrake Triple Fusion, Rolling Splash. It's a completely cheesy anime move name. They land a direct hit on this white, giant, mochi-looking beast. The thing doesn't even realize what just hit it. Goo glares at the little troublemakers, clearly super annoyed. Meanwhile, the mochi beast just stands there frozen. Stepping in to restore order, Nari immediately demands to know what all this chaos is about. Our hero explains that the little plants are just totally pissed off about someone invading their turf. Right then, the bald guy shows up with dinner. It's a sweet and sour dish completely guaranteed to get the kids hooked. It straight up looks like fancy restaurant food, perfectly plated and super detailed. The system instantly gives it an 80. The big guy absolutely killed it in the kitchen. Bragging like crazy, he says it was super easy to make. He already feels like a total master chef. Getting totally showered with praise, he opens his arms super happily and tells everyone to dig in. But the MC immediately kills the vibe. He demands to know why the guy's face is completely busted up. Breaking into a cold sweat, the bald guy starts stuttering like crazy. That question caught him totally off guard. He explains he dropped by the association and ended up bumping into some A-rank hunters. Long story short, they clowned on him for failing his 7th attempt. A fight broke out and the dudes literally kicked him out. He got roasted non-stop with jokes about his pride falling out right along with his hair. Getting totally confused, the MC asks if he just shaved his head or if he's actually fully bald. He launches into a whole lecture about male pattern baldness. That leaves the master totally lost and honestly in a pretty bad mood. He brings up that the big guy's next promotion exam is coming up next month, exactly 60 days from now. He announces a special training arc. That gets the big guy super hyped to give it his absolute best. But his very first task is literally just washing the dishes. That leaves him completely mind blown. He asks if he really has to scrub everything down to the glowing stones. He seriously can't believe it. The MC gives it to him straight right then and there. Either he washes every single dish or he's gonna rot in B ranks forever. Right as they're dropping that bomb, he heads out to fish with Nari, leaving our cook completely alone with the mess. He stares at that massive mountain of dirty dishes, totally defeated, but he rolls up his sleeves and preps for the grind. He thinks to himself that the boss definitely has to have some crazy master plan behind all this. He lets out a little grunt of effort, remembering that everyone basically thinks he was born an elite, but he swears he reached B rank through pure blood, sweat, and tears. He is super proud of his own grind. He claims he'd be absolute nothing without his hardcore dedication. He always trusts people right to the very end. He promises to give it another shot. He runs around with the wash basins while literally screaming for his master. Cutting over to the riverbank, the fishing bobber finally starts getting some action. He's just casually fishing while Nari is fast asleep, complaining that she can't catch a single thing even in her dreams. Meanwhile, on the other side of the riverbank, the bald guy is straight up getting jumped by some demonic piranhas. Watching the whole thing with a piece of grass in his mouth, the prota thinks that having a new employee is honestly way too much work. He asks why the guy isn't just using a mana shield. The bald dude admits he's totally out of practice. Deciding to give him a hand, our boy grabs a glowing stone and immediately coats it in his own energy. He hands the rock over to his apprentice. The guy takes it, totally clueless about what's going on. But the second he touches it, this crazy blue energy shoots straight up his arm. That leaves the dude completely shocked. He screams that it's literally pure magic. The MC just casually explains that some stones are naturally built like that. He warns him that the magic in this world is super raw. You definitely need highly refined mana to actually control it. He taps the big guy's chest and notes that he's got plenty of mana. He's just kinda sloppy with it. He activates his skill, making the apprentice's whole body glow with pure flowing energy. With his hands completely glowing, he explains he just opened an energy pathway. It's literally a next level lesson. He tells him to just follow that exact flow. At that, the big guy gets totally locked in, staring at his glowing hands. He tells him to try lifting that giant rock one more time to test his mana control. He focuses with absolutely everything he's got. He feels like the insane energy is practically frying his brain. He lets out a massive scream that could wake the dead and actually lifts the boulder. He seriously can't believe he did it. He finally realizes that washing the dishes was actually a super hardcore mana training exercise. The prota just smirks and tells him to get back to work. With that, the bald guy officially becomes the king of chores. He's totally focused and promises to scrub absolutely anything spotless. Later on, night finally falls, and the cabin is all lit up by the stones. It literally looks like a fancy resort. Using those sculpted stones to glow exactly like a lamp shows that our boy is an absolute creative genius. Soon enough, the whole squad totally crashes in their beds. They fall into a deep sleep after an insanely exhausting day. The big guy is still mumbling about hitting A ranks in his sleep. He's practically drooling over getting that promotion. Meanwhile, the prota finally gets some well-deserved rest, totally soaking up that amazing peace and quiet. Right then, the mochi beast wakes up in the dead of night and just stares at that mysterious egg. Its little eyes go wide once it realizes the tiny creature inside is literally about to hatch. But Neri sneaks out of bed super quietly. That leaves the little beast totally curious about what she's up to. She heads out into the dark all by herself. The MC immediately opens one eye, totally wondering where the kid is going. With the full moon high in the sky, it sets up the absolute perfect chill vibe for a late night stroll. We see the shorty already sitting by the riverbank with her feet in the water, looking super sad. She stares down at her dirty clothes. She's totally bummed out about ruining the awesome gift the boss gave her, but she shakes off the sadness pretty quickly. She starts scrubbing the fabric with some insane dedication. The Prota and Gu are secretly keeping an eye on her. They point out she has to wash it at night because it's literally the only outfit she owns. She lets out a super cute little victory cheer when she gets the stain out. She is absolutely hype that everything is clean again. Our boy instantly realizes he totally messed up. He remembers that at the end of the day, she's really just a kid. She stretches out, feeling super proud of her flawless late-night laundry session. She totally jumps out of her skin when her master just casually spawns right behind her out of nowhere. Playing it super cool, he claims he was just out for a walk. The little girl stammers, totally embarrassed. Getting totally serious, he asks her not to move a muscle. The shorty immediately listens. He grabs a piece of grass and makes a super cute belt out of it, adding a little flower. He's basically a natural-born fashion designer. He asks if it looks cute. The little girl turns totally red and says she honestly thinks it looks beautiful. She quickly notices that the little plant looks exactly like the one the Prota is always rocking. Looking super proud, he explains that it's a forsythia, which is literally our hero's absolute favorite flower, but a massive noise from the bushes completely shatters the silence. The peaceful walk is officially over. Nari grabs onto him, completely shaking with fear. Meanwhile, our boy just keeps up his total tough guy act. He flashes that confident little smirk to try and calm the little girl's nerves. He claims it was just a bug, right as a giant steel grasshopper casually walks by in the background. Walking back holding hands, he asks if she wants some new clothes, but the little girl totally turns him down. She insists she absolutely loves the one she's wearing. Our hero gets completely flustered by her answer. Cutting right back to the slums in District 13, things are definitely not looking too great. Remembering his own rough days, he thinks it's super messed up to leave the kid with only one outfit. He figures taking her to a store would be great, but his past trauma makes the whole idea feel super risky. He walks through the sketchy alleys, trying to remember a clothing shop that used to be right around there. He casually pulls on a random dude's sleeve to ask where he can actually buy some stuff. Right away, this totally ragged kid demands 10 grand just to be his local tour guide. He swears he knows the absolute best, cheapest spot around. This kid has some next-level marketing skills, but our client makes it clear he's only paying after the job is done, since he literally doesn't have any change on him. The kid totally looks him up and down. He already assumes the guy is just some broke rookie. He lets out a deep sigh and asks if the guy at least has enough cash for the clothes, telling him to just follow along. He introduces himself as Bong Su. Meanwhile, our hunter drops his name without a single care in the world. He's already calling the Prota Big Bro right as a cop car rolls by, totally highlighting how much the area has changed. The kid asks if he just awakened his powers recently. Our hero casually confirms that he did. Right off the bat, the guide assumes some scammer completely robbed him of all his gear back at the portal. He just laughs at the kid's smooth talk. The boy tells him not to sweat it, since tough times always pass. But the kid totally loses it when he gets called a child. He swears up and down that he's 17 years old. He also warns him to steer clear of District 13. That place is straight up worse than ever now. It's all because some gang took over the area. Even the cops have totally washed their hands of the place. Frowning, our MC immediately asks if the old orphanage in the area is still standing. Right then, we see a store sign advertising a huge sale. It just goes to show that the economic crisis is hitting everyone hard. And the owner, this stylish blonde lady, is seriously regretting opening her business there. Since nobody's got any cash, her whole stock of kids' clothes is just sitting there gathering dust. That is, until the door chimes. It's signaling the arrival of a total savior of a customer. Walking and all hyped up, the guide calls her ma'am. That instantly ticks the blonde lady off. He introduces his client as a hunter. The MC then mentions it's his first time checking out the shop. Pulling the kid into the corner, she immediately starts chewing him out. She complains that he only brings in broke people. Her list of deadbeats is already way too long. Trying to defend himself, the kid argues that at least the guy is super handsome. He throws the blame right back at her. He reminds her she was the one who asked for hunters just like her late brother. Interrupting their little beef, our MC tells the kid to go take a bath on his dime. He then whips out a fat check. He straight up asks what he can buy with all that cash. Both of their jaws hit the floor. The shop owner starts sweating bullets, totally unable to believe the amount. After all, it's 10 million written on that paper. That was basically all the money our boy had to his name. Throwing her hands up to the heavens, she realizes this is her golden ticket to save her business. Her attitude does a total 180. She flashes a massive smile and starts treating him like absolute royalty. Right then, he asks for some clothes for a little girl. He also throws in an order for some shoes and a few outfits for himself. She goes into pure ecstasy over this. Kids' fashion is actually her absolute specialty. She shows off this frilly blouse with tons of ruffles. She swears up and down that lace is an absolute must-have luxury. She quickly follows it up with her really breezy outfit. It's perfect for kids to just run around and play in. She's desperate to empty out her inventory, so she's just pushing anything and everything that comes in pink. The cash register just keeps beeping non-stop. This lady is basically getting filthy rich in seconds. With the store practically empty now, the blonde collapses from exhaustion. But man, she is riding that sweet high of victory. After buying 100 different items, he waves off the delivery option. He decides he's just gonna carry it all himself. He hands a bag and some change over to the guide. He then lets him know he's got one more little favor to ask. Rocking his fresh new stylish threads, our MC is out here feeling like a literal runway model. He gets guided to a really clean and safe boarding house. It's conveniently located right next door to the police station. But while our MC heads inside, the kid just stays planted outside. He's looking super suspicious of the whole thing. He finds all this kindness totally sus. It's just way too bizarre for the standards of this messed up city. He even thinks about making a run for it. He's terrified this is some sketchy setup run by local criminals, but then he remembers that shop owner's genuine smile. So he decides to just take a leap of faith. Stepping out of the building, the MC praises the spot. He confirms that his guide seriously nailed it. He drops a set of keys right into the kid's hands. He's determined to get this boy off the streets for good. He reveals he just paid for an entire year of rent and food. Now the kid can actually live a decent life. This leaves the kid in absolute shock. He's still half expecting this whole thing to be some kind of elaborate scam. Opening a portal with a laugh, the hunter promises him there's zero catch to this deal. On the verge of tears, the boy just can't wrap his head around it. Why would a total stranger help him out this much? In a really calm voice, our MC tells him the truth. The kid just reminded him a lot of his own past. Heading back to the cabin, Nari and the bald dude immediately start grilling him about why he took so long. But the little girl completely flips out with joy over the gifts. Meanwhile, the mascot is just staring at it all, looking terrified. Seeing the celebration, the bald guy asks if he scored anything too. He gets hit with a big fat nope in response. Acting like a total dad, he tells the girl to go try on her new clothes. The egg just sits there in the background, and right on cue, the shell starts shaking and cracking. It suddenly starts glowing with this crazy sinister light. He folds the rest of the clothes with absolute care. He honestly finds the whole chore super relaxing. That is until Nari comes running back in, totally hyped up. She instantly grabs both of their attention. She pops out rocking a little yellow dress and a cute hat. She's just showing off how adorable she looks. Totally agreeing, the MC flashes a smile. Meanwhile, the girl is already thinking about trying on her other outfits. She struggles big time trying to put on some jeans. She ends up looking completely goofy since she has no idea how to wear them. Next, she pops out wearing his shirt like a literal ghost. Our hero is just sitting there looking totally confused. Watching her with a massive grin on his face, he finds the whole scene insanely cute and wholesome. Finally, she stomps her new shoes on the floor. She proudly announces her ultimate outfit choice. She's wearing a white hoodie with a little chick on it. She absolutely loves it, and it totally melts the boss's heart. The little wolf stares at the print, looking pretty awkward. He thinks the drawing looks way too much like him, praising her new fit. The MC asks if she can put away the rest of the clothes by herself. All fired up for the job, the little girl accepts the mission. She's walking around feeling like she owns the place. Right then, the pup asks where they're gonna store all this stuff. But our MC already has a solid plan in mind. He announces they're doing a massive cabin renovation. He then pulls out the blueprints for a giant walk-in closet. Kicking back and relaxing, he says he's already got the perfect helper to chop the wood. Suddenly, there's a massive burst of energy. We see the bald guy is already outside grinding away, fallen on his knees and clutching his own wig. The old man swears he's ready for training. He does a super exaggerated bow and hands over his master's gear. The MC has no idea what's going on. Pointing at the old leather, he reveals he suffered through the poison just to focus on his training. He promises to push himself to the absolute limit, even though he completely failed at washing the stained clothes. The MC tosses the leather right in the old guy's face. He orders him to wear it, which completely freaks the dude out. He calls the gear a perfect training uniform. He then sends the poor terrified guy off to chop more wood. Running frantically into the living room, Nari yells that the egg is acting super weird. They all gather around the shaking, cracking shell. You could seriously cut the tension in the room with a knife. He lets them know right off the bat that their new pet is finally ready to hatch. The old guy goes into full panic mode over how dangerous it could be. Meanwhile, the little girl girl is practically jumping for joy. She bets it's gonna be a super cute pet. But the apprentice points out that you honestly never know with these things. Cutting through the bad vibes, the girl puts all her faith into it being an adorable little creature. The shell finally busts open. It reveals this creepy yellow eye, proving it's definitely dangerous. This makes the old guy cower right behind Nari. She's just standing there with front row seats, totally fearless. It shreds through the rest of the egg with these razor-sharp claws. This thing was clearly born ready to throw down. Suddenly, a scaly golden tail swings into the air. It creates this massive wave of suspense inside the cabin, narrating the horror in real time. The guy wonders what kind of freaky monster they're dealing with, but the real shock hits when they see it's just a little yellow snake. It's got a baby chick's face and a tiny eggshell sitting on its head like a mohawk. While the bald guy is standing there utterly confused, Nari completely melts over how cute the thing is. Giving its own shell a solid kick, the little creature immediately shows them who's boss. It does this crazy athletic jump straight at the group. Everyone else just freezes up in absolute terror. It aims dead center at the old man's shiny bald head. It latches onto his dome, just like a giant tick. The poor guy lets out this blood-curdling scream of pure terror. You could probably hear it from miles away. The yelling is so loud, it literally shakes the tree branches outside. It straight up spooks the local wildlife. Later on, we see the guy chopping wood outside. Meanwhile, the wolf pup looks like it's giving him a whole lecture, suffering in that toxic gear that barely lets him breathe. He really admires his master's insane strength. Inside, the MC stretches out while folding more clothes. He's just soaking in the peaceful vibes of the day. That is until Nari screams that the pet is eating bread. The boss instantly whips around, ready to throw hands. But it was just the little snake casually snacking. It proves that the beast is actually super obedient and gentle. He explains that the snake knows exactly who saved it. That opens the floor up for them to pick out a name. They get the idea to name it Sasa, but the little guy totally hates it and instantly bolts across the field. They all start running and screaming after it. The wolf pup even joins in to help them track it down. Letting out a genuine laugh, the MC realizes just how much Nari already loves their new mascot. He mentions that it's an insanely rare and totally brand new species. The wolf pup totally backs him up on that, but they get a quick warning to watch out for the mandrakes, especially if the pet comes from the volcano. He's left super confused about the warning. Meanwhile, those little plants just innocently start sprouting up in the background. Right then, Goo drops the hard truth. Monsters from out there absolutely love chowing down on plants and will attack pretty much anything green. They especially go crazy for anything packed with demonic energy. It turns out the newbie wants to make a snack out of the mandrakes. Next thing you know, the little snake is already glaring at the tiny plants with pure murder in its eyes. It lets out this totally menacing little chirp, basically declaring war. The poor little plants are absolutely terrified. Seeing this beast gearing up for a fight, the bald guy is just super confused. He has zero clue what the beef is even about. But our MC is just chilling in pure peace. Meanwhile, Nari is stressing out and trying to break up the fight. He explains that in the demon realm, the pecking order is usually settled with straight-up violence. Since they are all still just babies and not really dangerous yet, he decides to just sit back and watch the show. All the while, the chick snake just keeps giving everything the ultimate death stare. It leaves the youngest mandrake literally shaking in its roots. The poor thing lets out this tiny squeal of pure panic. It immediately charges straight at the weakest link. That is honestly such a cowardly move. It pops its claws out and lunges forward at an absolutely insane speed. But then the older sister steps in and blocks the strike with a twig. Talk about some flawless teamwork. Right after that, the second plant launches a counterattack. It just goes to show there is serious power in numbers. It lands a dead center headbutt right on the beast. It literally leaves the little guy seeing stars. It blocks the impact with its tail. But the robot girl quickly notices that the little beast is actually smiling. But then the third little plant manages to sneak up right behind it. It blasts out this massive energy beam before the beast even knows what hit it. It completely knocks the snake to the dirt. It totally proves that size really does not matter in a fight. Seeing the mascot holding back tears, the old dude is just in disbelief. He actually asks if the little beast is crying. It is honestly a total shock. According to Nari, this is the very first time it has ever taken a beating in its life. This brings us to the boys' final verdict. The plants definitely took the win in round 1. The bald dude gets super hyped over this epic showdown. Honestly, even Goo totally agrees with him. Goo calls the crew back to work and starts rushing the old guy. The dude seriously seriously starts wondering if their boss is even human. We cut over to this gorgeous blue sky and a nice ocean breeze. Are we finally getting a moment of peace? Nope, because this massive humanoid pterodactyl suddenly comes soaring right through the sky. It is basically a birdman rocking bat wings and an absolutely shredded physique. It is a seriously bizarre character design. He's got this super calm look on his face and is wearing a blue stone necklace. Is this guy going to be an ally or just more trouble? Cutting back to H2, we get a look at the brand new cabin. It is the beautiful result of lots of sweat and some serious free labor. The bald guy is out here hauling heavy logs. Meanwhile, Gu is literally riding on his back and yelling at him to hurry up like an absolute slave driver. Right then, the biomachine is rubbing some oil onto the little snake. The little guy is absolutely loving this premium spa treatment. Meanwhile, our Chimera boy is just putting away clothes while living his best, most peaceful life. His leather gear is looking completely busted after the old dude finally finished washing all the poison out. He lets out this cry of pure agony that just echoes in your soul. The guy is absolutely running on fumes. He looks like he has not slept a wink in 2 days. He is just so incredibly done with this whole situation, falling to his knees and completely covered in this gloomy aura. He seriously starts questioning his life choices. But the MC actually praises his laundry skills. This leaves the old guy totally caught off guard and stuttering. Right then, Nari sniffs the air and catches this sweet floral scent. The old dude is just left totally confused. It brings in this super chill vibe and an atmosphere that straight up feels like a lavender breeze. This makes the little girl wonder why everything smells like fresh flowers when it is all literally made out of wood. Looking super proud, the boss explains that Gyu specifically picked out aromatic wood. Talk about having fancy taste. The bit wolf totally flexes on this. He guarantees that all their clothes are going to end up smelling amazing. Even the mandrakes pop out of the dirt just to vibe with the scent. They definitely give this upgrade 2 thumbs up. Meanwhile, Sasa is catching a really solid nap. Nari is just hyped to see the little guy settling into his new home. Then the bald dude finds out a pretty funny detail. The name Sasa was actually the boss's idea from the start, trying to be helpful. He suggests the name Chick Snake. It is a completely trash tier idea that makes the whole room go dead silent. Nari says she would rather call it Pipiak instead. She then decides to ask their furry friend for his take on it. Out of nowhere, the wolf suggests the name The Great Steps in the Drawer. The whole crew was just left completely utterly baffled. After revealing his own extra as hell name as Rocky Mountain Horseshoe, the boss honestly just gives up trying. He drops the gavel and says the name is Sasa. End of story. All the while, the little snake is just totally passed out and snoring. The duo instantly agrees to it. Honestly, after hearing those other awful options, anything sounds like an upgrade. Getting back on track, Gu asks what the next move is now that the cabin expansion is wrapped up. This catches our boy completely off guard. He literally had not planned out a single thing past this point. Gathering the squad, he pitches an idea straight from the human world. It is a completely new concept for his lone wolf lifestyle. Flashing a huge smile, he tells them everything has changed now. Our boy has officially become a family man. He decides they need to build a super sturdy fence. That way, they can keep out any sketchy intruders while he is away. But the old dude highly doubts anyone would even try breaking in. The cabin alone already gives off a totally sinister aura. But the boss warns him that the danger is very real. Some high-level monsters or annoying hunters could easily show up looking for trouble. Meanwhile, Nari is just sitting there quietly watching the whole conversation with that adorable little face of hers. Gu immediately agrees with the plan. He suggests they head over to the coastal region to hunt down some demonic energy stones. He explains there is this super tough yellowish quartz hidden at the bottom of the ocean that literally glows in the dark. This gets our boy picturing the new fence. He thinks it would give off an absolute top-tier camping vibe. He instantly announces a road trip. Nari absolutely loves the idea of hitting the beach, but the old guy almost has a literal heart attack. He goes into full-blown panic mode remembering what that place is actually like. You can practically see his soul leaving his body. We get a quick flashback of him totally battered and bleeding out. It basically proves that the whole region is pure nightmare fuel. He tries to dodge the mission at all costs. He pulls out the lame excuse that he really needs to stay back and drain his demonic energy. The MC does not even care and just tells him to stay behind and water the plants. Super relieved, the old dude begs them to be extremely careful. He warns them that the area is strictly off-limits. 2 literal disaster-level beasts are basically running the whole block over there. He completely catches our boy off guard with the next detail. He reveals that the beasts are actually escaped chimeras from a lab. He goes into detail about how they look like birds mashed up with human bodies. It is just a completely cursed and bizarre combo. We cut right over to that very Birdman looking incredibly stylish mid-flight. The character design is straight up badass. Meanwhile, on a nearby cliff, a squad of hunters confirms they already have the monster locked in their sights. One of the grunts is already charging up this massive glowing ring of golden energy. He fires off the magic blast with absolute full force directly at their flying target. It triggers this massive explosion after landing a dead-on hit. That attack was an absolute bullseye. The blast sends the beast flying backward. The shooter actually starts mocking it, totally convinced the danger was all just rumors. But their leader tells them to hold their horses. He wants them to hang back and wait until the beast retreats into its nest. The grunt starts asking about what those things actually are. The boss quickly explains that they are nothing more than failed experiments. He goes on this whole speech about how the original prototypes are total duds. They cannot let these mistakes become a stain on human science. But then the team's lookout suddenly goes into absolute panic mode and screams for his boss. Looking through the scope, he shows him that the beast did not back down at all. It is actually charging right back at them at top speed. Totally freaking out, the hunter warns him that the beast has its eyes locked dead on their position. This makes the leader drop his cocky attitude and instantly order them to throw up a barrier. The fear is getting way too real. The beast comes crashing down on them like a literal meteor. It slams full force right into their green energy shield. The impact shatters the barrier instantly. The boss in the suit takes the brunt of the shockwave and starts coughing up blood. It sends the whole squad flying through the air. The shooter is just sitting there utterly shocked that their barrier got totally obliterated. Meanwhile, the giant bird pulls off a sick flip in midair. It is already lining up for another fatal dive bomb attack. It flashes those razor-sharp claws. The intruders finally realize that their actions are seriously coming back to bite them. Sprawled out on the ground, the boss leading this whole operation starts pathetically begging for his life. Right then, little Nari drops down from the sky and lands a massive punch right on the beast. She firmly tells it to knock off the bullying. After getting sent flying backward, the Birdman instantly recognizes her insane strength. He immediately realizes she is a chimera too. He lands flawlessly right in front of our visiting duo. The vibe in the area instantly gets insanely heavy. Nari tries calling out the beast for being a coward, but our boss quickly realizes that it is actually the exact opposite situation. Nearby, the hunter urgently warns his leader that their radars just picked up a machine entering the area. Our MC instantly puts two and two together and realizes these guys are actually hunting Nori. He gently pats her head to let her know she is safe. Looking dead serious, our boy mentions that he honestly never expected to cross paths with this particular guy again. Flashing a little smirk, he casually asks the bird brain if he actually remembers him. He brings up their old days locked up together as lab rats. This leaves the giant monster standing there in absolute shock. Lightly poking fun at him, our boy confesses that he honestly never thought his old buddy would still be kicking. Watching all this unfold, the intruders are just totally confused. The leader takes full advantage of the distraction to make a quick getaway. At that point, the suited guy tries to back off, but our MC already knows that will just lead to bigger problems later, declaring that the beef ends right here and now. The Birdman instantly recognizes the kid in absolute shock. We get this super intense flashback of cells 17 and 33 filled with the stench of chemicals. It shows the two of them strapped down on medical beds, totally surrounded by the creepy vibes of the laboratory. Snapping back to the present, our MC greets his old buddy like it is absolutely no big deal. He brings up another memory from 66 years ago, back when the guards were hunting them down. They were on this desperate run for their lives, with the goons screaming at them not to let anyone get away. Running alongside young Jia, the bird boy starts panicking as he feels the side effects kicking in. Looking at his totally busted arm, he seriously starts doubting if escaping that hellhole was even the right move. Feeling the pressure mounting, he starts thinking that maybe all their sacrifices were totally for nothing. Staring up at the sky in pure frustration, he even wonders if he should have just left his sister behind. While Jia takes a breather, he complains that his weak little wings are absolutely useless, but the girl praises the warmth of his wings, giving him the strength to tell her to keep pushing forward. He takes off running through the dark woods, promising her that help would show up soon, but he instantly freezes in fear when he sees their backup is just our little MC holding a light. His jaw straight up drops when he recognizes Subject 17 just chilling in the middle of nowhere. He warns him that they were planning to scrap the bird project, but his friend just calls him a total weirdo. He reveals that a spell is going to wipe them out in 3 days, but thankfully Jia is safe. He suggests they go look for some meds, but his buddy absolutely shuts him down since he is already at his limit. He remembers his sister's trauma, crying and begging just to escape that absolute nightmare. She just wanted things to go back to normal, even if it was just for one single day. Absolutely heartbreaking stuff. This gets the boy thinking, does the amount of time you have left really matter, or is it how you choose to live it? Right then, this crazy energy explodes and his wings completely completely evolve. He decides to live free, even if it is just for a little while. Now completely transformed and full of swagger, he instantly challenges his buddy to a fight. But our MC just stares back at him with his classic deadpan look right in the middle of all the tension. He pulls this massive blue portal out of absolutely nowhere, completely killing the mood for a fight. The bird guy's eyes go wide. He has zero clue how he managed to get his hands on such an insanely rare item. He explains the rules of the demon realm. Either their human side poisons them and they kick the bucket, or their monster side completely takes over and they turn into full-blown beasts for good. He guarantees without a doubt that the second option is the much better way to live free. Since the spell does not work over there, his buddy instantly asks if it is actually possible to survive. The MC reassures him, explaining that they can totally risk it by using their mana as a shield. Hearing the guards closing in, the bird boy agrees to the crazy plan right then and there. Right then, the MC mentions that even after sharing a cell for 4 years, he never even knew his name. He finally reveals his name is Biome, while still trying to process all the absolute madness happening around him. With his hand glowing golden, our hero introduces himself as Cheon Do-woon. Cutting right back to the present, the MC tests the memory of the suited guy trying to run away, but the dude's mind has already been totally wiped. He honestly has zero clue what he is even doing there. Pointing right at a portal, the kid tells them to bounce and forget everything. Straight up Men in Black style. Getting super curious, the big wolf, Gru, asks if he just used the powder of forgetfulness. He explains that the herb wipes the last 3 hours of memory, leaving his mascot totally stunned. Looking the giant monster dead in the eye, he finally asks if he is actually his old pal Biome. Right then, little Nari tugs on the boss's clothes, looking super curious about the whole vibe. She asks if he is actually friends with the giant bird. The MC confirms it, just totally playing along. All hyped up, the little girl says their trides go way back as longtime partners. She gives a super sincere apology for clocking him, while the bird guy is just standing there completely lost. The Denda girl's stomach lets out a massive growl, proving she is already starving like a lion. She starts whining to the boss that she desperately needs to crush some food right now, without skipping a beat. The kid asks if his buddy has any grub back at his place. Absolutely glitching out, the giant monster asks if the cute little kid is actually his friend's daughter. He shows off this massive beach house that straight up looks like a giant nest. The little kid thinks it is absolutely awesome. Everyone just chills out on a mat, with our hero totally giving his stamp of approval to the humble setup. The host quickly serves up the grub in a giant bowl, but warns them he cannot promise it tastes good. He brings out these massive clams grilled in walnut butter, paired with a side of red moss paste. The little girl is absolutely mind-blown by the size of it, while the boss trusts the amazing smell. Even the big wolf decides to play food critic and takes the very first bite to test it out. He gets hit with this massive philosophical flavor trip after tasting the dish. He is absolutely loving it. Meanwhile, Nari is just scarfing everything down with her cheeks totally stuffed. She's a huge fan of the seafood's texture. The kid decides to try the red sauce too and totally agrees that the seasoning is just insanely good. Looking super proud, the bird guy reveals that the moss is actually his ultimate secret ingredient. Shifting back to his human form, the guy tells them to slow down and enjoy it, but the food is disappearing way too fast. But suddenly, the host feels this weird energy in the air, and their peaceful lunch totally gets ruined. Noticing the heavy vibe, our hero instantly realizes that some serious trouble is heading their way. The little girl does not even care about the tension. She just pulls the pot closer and asks her uncle for seconds. Completely ignoring the danger, she announces she is gonna go dive in the water to catch 10 more clams all by herself. It just goes to show that the kid's appetite has absolutely zero limits, completely regardless of the danger. Right then, the boy starts reflecting on how he managed to survive this long thanks to his immortal cells. He uses the opening to ask if his buddy is planning on getting some payback against the scientists. Watching the little girl eating peacefully, the bird guy says he is just gonna let the whole revenge thing go. Tossing the heavy topic right back, he brings up the brutal lifespan limit they are both dealing with. He points out that the cells start glitching in the human world, then immediately asks about the whole bird look. Getting dead serious, the big guy reveals he can actually shift into a normal form, but he totally refuses to do it. It is all because Jia's face was disfigured and he feels it would be totally messed up for him to walk around looking handsome now. Catching on to the guy's insane loyalty, the kid gives him this heavy look, already knowing the sad truth. He warns his friend that he honestly only has about a month left to live. It was something the guy already kind of suspected anyway. He explains his past, remembering how hard he had to fight when he first ended up in that place. He managed to stabilize the evil energy in his body and actually lived in peace for a solid amount of time. We get this super chill flashback of them just meditating peacefully up on the rocks by the beach. But the good times did not last. His sister's mana core totally crapped out and everything just spiraled out of control. He was forced to push way past his limits just to keep her safe, which completely wrecked his own body. He reveals that she actually knocks herself out by eating poisonous fruit just so she does not completely lose her mind. Thinking about the little plants back in his yard, our hero instantly realizes he has the ultimate cure. He shows off the weird poisonous fruits that work as medicine to knock the poor girl out. In this pitch-black cave, the girl is shown lying on the straw, just living a life of pure suffering. She is groaning in pain in her sleep. It proves that the poison only delays the problem, but never actually cures it. He remembers the day she let out this bizarre scream and suddenly had this creepy bone mask on her face. It left her poor brother in absolute despair. He had zero clue how they were supposed to keep living like that. Cutting through the bad vibes, our MC brings the ultimate god-tier solution: pure mandrake water. It just so happens to be from those same little yard monsters that scream their heads off and wreck the house. They might look like weak little plants with stringy roots, but their looks are totally deceiving. Because that water is packed with pure life energy, it can easily fix up a busted core in no time flat. Full of swagger, he reveals he actually has a whole farm of them and promises to whip up the miracle cure. This gives his partner a ton of hope, but he warns him they are definitely gonna need an alchemist mage for the job. He tells the big guy to play babysitter while he goes hunting for one, which he agrees to right on the spot. But the MC suddenly freezes up. He remembers those guys charge an arm and a leg. He is totally broke right now. Seeing the money problem, the big wolf goo instantly steps up with a totally clutch plan up his sleeve. He hauls out this massive hiking backpack for his owner. The Birdman is just standing there looking super confused. He shows off the intruder's stash, proving that the alchemist's payment is already totally covered. Giving the crew a solid goodbye wave, our hero flies right back to the city to handle business. While just casually strolling through the normal streets, he bumps into a super familiar face and strikes up a conversation. Chatting with Bong Su, the kid asks if he knows any top-tier alchemists around. The boy quickly tells him that the association actually opened a branch in the slums last year. Noticing the guy's weights, the boss asks about them and finds out it's for endurance training. He wants to get jacked just like his big bro. That leaves our MC totally confused. He praises the guy's guts for facing the demon realm with nothing but the clothes on his back. Pointing to a beat-up building falling apart, he reveals it's branch 13 of the association. He gossips about the new manager Kim. Word is, the guy is an absolute monster at alchemy. Getting super close to the place, the kid already overhears a really sketchy conversation going down. He spots a sweaty older dude on the phone. The guy's swearing he hasn't missed a payment in 20 years. It's straight up loan shark talk. That kind of borrowing is super normal in the slums. Turns out the man busted his ass in the capital for 20 years before getting exiled out here. You'd think the guy made some massive screw up, but the guy shoots that idea down right away. He explains the old boss was embezzling money from the slums. Just a complete scumbag. Plus, he'd blatantly steal all the credit for his team's hard work without batting an eye. Since the humble manager blew the whistle on the scheme, he got kicked to the curb in this dump. Right then, the older dude walks up. He's got this totally defeated posture from a rough life. The guide calls out to him. The manager instantly cracks a smile when he recognizes the boy. Introducing our hero, he lets him know they desperately need an alchemist right now, knowing that finding a high-level pro around here would normally be an impossible mission. Ruffling the kid's hair, the man praises his hard work. That's a super rare trait in this neighborhood. He lets the guide go train, while the manager invites the kid inside the branch. They walk into an office that's a total ghost town. Literally zero action going on. There's an assistant slouched in his chair. He's whining about being stuck selling cheap potions forever. That is, until the little chime of the doorbell totally shatters the silence of the room. Jumping out of his skin, the guy immediately gets scolded by his boss to grab a drink for their guest. Cutting straight to the chase, the kid asks if he can brew up some mandrake water. Looking pretty shocked, the man says he can, but that plant is basically impossible to find. The kid whips the magic item right out of his pocket. It leaves the manager's jaw on the floor. It's leaking this crazy energy into the air. That's because the mandrake root is super fresh. He's completely mind-blown by the rare plant. It's something he's literally never seen in his life. Saying he'll pay with items from the coast, the kid slams his heavy backpack right onto the desk. Showing off rare monster drops, the man can barely believe he made it back from that place alive. He spots 3 high-tier pros in there. That stuff not even the main headquarters had in stock. The assistant nearly has a heart attack seeing that the monster meat is still twitching. He's absolutely stunned by the insane purity of that local red moss. Confirming the payment, the kid finds out that amount of cash could buy the entire building. Then the wimpy assistant rushes off to grab the appraisal machine for the loot. But our boy gets a super weird vibe from how fast that employee bolted out of there. Pointing at a glass jar nearby, he spots another plant and catches the man in a lie. He explains that the plant dried up 10 years ago. It's really just there as a keepsake. Flashing a confident smirk, the kid guarantees the root in the jar is still alive and kicking. He pumps a little mana into the jar. The thing instantly twitches, showing it was just starving for energy. The man goes completely pale. He realizes the weed was just asleep from a lack of power. Suddenly, the door bursts wide open, and it drags Trouble right back to the front counter. It's the dreaded, suited-up, corrupt boss. He has the poor manager shaking in his boots, staring at the intruder. The kid immediately notices the guy looks totally juiced up, roasting the place with zero chill. The suit calls it a straight-up filthy dump. He locks his greedy eyes right on those valuable treasures just sitting on the table, making the alchemist instantly realize his wimpy assistant acted like a total snitch, bragging about having smart underlings with some seriously handy teleportation magic. Shifting his focus to the kid, he asks about the loot, but he gets a super blunt comeback. He tries to bribe the boy with promises of easy money and the high life in the big city, but our hero shuts that talk right down. He says his deal with the manager is going just fine. Completely ignoring the offer, he zones in on this massive wart right on the rich guy's nose. Once the alchemist confirms the mark, the kid asks if he's related to some old geezer, bursting out laughing. The suit loves hearing that they remembered his super famous grandpa, pumping his chest with pure pride just to hear our boy completely trash his genetics, bringing back the old memory of that mad scientist calling kids straight up worthless trash. With a cruel look, the old man would mock them, saying their parents must be in the demon realm, telling his victims to beg for help in the afterlife, just proving he was a disgusting old creep. Losing his patience right then and there, the kid flicks the guy and rips the wart clean off, knocking the suit right to the floor. He angrily asks if he's a giant scumbag just like his grandpa, accusing the guy of loving to steal and humiliate people. It leaves the suit sweating bullets. With a sharp, deadly glare, he presses him to find out if the old lab still existed. The rich kid is terrified. He swears up and down he's never even heard of that operation, questioning the details of the forbidden lab. It makes the humble manager sweat with pure fear. Getting up all bruised, the grandson defends that his old man dedicated his whole life to research, showing a picture of a medal. He claims his family always went out of their way to help victims. Being super sarcastic, the hero says that was just pure guilt from all their evil deeds, reminding him that the old geezer kicked the bucket early. That fall out the window was totally fatal, chilling the executive right to the bone, because that detail was a strictly guarded family secret. Flashing back to the memory as proof, it shows the kid himself was the one who gave the little push, showing the kid version of our MC standing right by the window. That boy was way too dangerous. He explains the old man ruined lives, so he just did everyone a favor and collected the debt early. He tells the spoiled brat to go dig into his family's past, promising he'll be back to collect answers, remembering his own little hand cruelly branded with the number 17 like a lab rat. Spending his whole youth locked in chains, his head was completely messed up with scrambled memories, with his arms turning into massive, deadly claws, just trying to survive in the middle of pure chaos, acting purely on wild animal instincts. He was always used as nothing more than a living weapon, thinking to himself that the damn place must have changed its front a dozen times by now. Killing the tension, the manager comes back smiling with the order. 2 little green bottles, revealing the plant's miracle liquid glowing super bright inside those tiny flasks, praising the man's speed, since an alchemy master gets the job done in just 30 minutes. Staying modest, the pro says that with top-tier ingredients, brewing it up is a total breeze. Loving the flawless service, our hero drops a solid 10-year contract proposal right on the table, leaving the poor guy completely stunned. That kind of cash would literally solve all his problems. He absolutely breaks down crying on a dramatic level, just bawling his eyes out like a waterfall. Flashing back to the nightmare of loan sharks raiding his house, his debt was just snowballing out of control. Remembering when he had to study in the dark, it felt like he could never climb out of that pit. Feeling super awkward about the crying, the kid tells him to chill. He lets him know he's counting on him. Taking the portal straight back to the demon realm, he's got the cure fully secured. But the second he steps onto his home turf, he finds the ground completely torn up. He sees the giant bird fighting against its own sister. She's completely lost her damn mind, beating himself up big time. He never predicted an attack of this level was actually going to happen, trying everything to snap the girl out of it. But her eyes are completely glazed over, rocking a bone mask and letting out a menacing roar that would terrify anyone. Right then, the out-of-control beast lunges straight at her poor relative, proving that all those long years of pure friendship and bonding just went straight down the drain. Watching the destruction from the front row, the boss quickly realizes things have gone totally sideways. It's finally the moment of truth, because stepping into a mess like this was completely unavoidable. Taking a brutal hit, the bird guy goes flying like a total ragdoll. Feeling the heavy weight of failure, our hero wonders if he showed up way too late. Right then, the big wolf angrily snaps that playtime is officially over. The little biomachine and the mascot quickly yell at the big guy to fall back, They promise to handle everything, while the older dude braces himself for the absolute worst. Remembering how the kid already saved their skins, he swears it's finally time to pay him back. Making the ground shake and rubble fly everywhere, he charges in like an absolute bulldozer. He's just waiting for a cruel goodbye from his sister, wishing him a happy next life. But the beast is full-on monster mode and doesn't want to chat. She's acting purely on wild instinct. But right at the last possible second, this super bizarre flower sprouts right in the middle of all that chaos. It turns into a giant slimy bubble that swallows the plant and blows up like a balloon. It knocks the big guy backward, leaving him totally spooked by this weird thing. Popping up sitting right on the slime, the boss says that should be enough to put her to sleep. Sneaking a peek, the little robot girl cheers that the boss finally made it. And the bird guy is scared out of his mind. He straight up thought it was a giant jellyfish washed up on the beach. With the slime trapping the struggling beast, the big guy goes into a total panic. Stuttering from pure nerves, he quickly asks where the long-awaited cure is. Flashing a confident smirk, the kid tosses him the flasks and tells him to administer the cure right now. After all that crazy drama, they build a campfire and roast some fish in total peace. The empty little bottles are tossed on the ground, proving the mission was a massive success. The whole gang completely passes out from exhaustion, snoring super loud after all that trouble. Right then, the big wolf cracks open just one eye, grumbling like someone waking up from a really good dream. Our MC is catching some sleep too, but a lingering tension in the air shows there's still drama. Then the sister wakes up, spots her monster reflection, and wonders if it was all just a bad nightmare. She slowly flutters her eyes open, trying to figure out what exactly is going down here. She sees the kid and her brother just chilling under the moonlight, shooting the breeze. Snapping his head around, the boss immediately asks what that weird noise was. She jumps up totally spooked and asks who the kid is. Her memory is completely wiped. The little robot girl wakes up right after. She's super hyped to see Aunt Spiro finally back on her feet, leaving the woman totally confused by that super funny and weird nickname. Introducing herself full of energy, the girl tells her to check out her monocore, and the woman gets even more lost, trying to wrap her head around what the girl is even talking about, until a bright blue light shines from her chest, showing her core is 100% healed. She touches her own face in pure shock, realizing her monster phase is officially a thing of the past. She wants the full rundown. While her brother finds it super weird she doesn't recognize their savior, then it finally clicks for her. She just can't believe who's sitting right there on the sand, staring at the kid eating a skewer. The memory of test subject 17 comes hitting her like a truck. She rushes to confirm it with her brother, who swears it's definitely the kid from the lab, thinking to herself that this grown-up kid has got to be an actual guardian angel. But our boy's super pragmatic, just asking if there's any of that red moss left over, and the giant bird quickly lets him know they are completely fresh out of that super valuable item, confirming the woman's suspicions. Good old number 17 is as blunt as ever. Gripping her pendant super tight, she gathers up all her courage to thank him. She flashes a beautiful smile, taking off that creepy mask and thanking him from the bottom of her heart. Right then, the little girl spots a super mysterious light glowing way out on the horizon. She runs straight toward the water, hyped up and shouting that something is lighting up the ocean. The woman adjusts her mask again, revealing that they're just super shy seafarers. She explains they're these little seaworst-type monsters that just earned a really cute nickname. They always surface during the night, but dive straight back to the bottom the second the sun comes up. Then the boss pieces it all together. Following these little guys leads straight to the valuable quartz. He asks how much time they have until sunrise, and the little bird says it'll be up pretty soon. Stretching out, the kid says he's super ready for this little adventure. Cutting over to a luxury office in the big city, the vibe in the room is ridiculously heavy. The mad scientist is demanding to know the whereabouts of his famous biomachine creature. His underling lets him know that 10 hunters have already totally failed their search along the coast. He reports agents getting totally wrecked and suffering from amnesia, but the tracker signal is still loud and clear. Suddenly, the scientist's phone starts ringing. It's the suited-up boss on the other end of the line. Answering in a serious tone, the executive immediately asks about the old lab. He's trying to bait him out, but the sly scientist totally plays dumb, acting super nervous and swearing he's innocent, while the suit tries to explain himself, bragging about how the guy's grandpa taught him to be fair, just being fake as hell. Flashing an evil little smirk, he swears he never forgot the old man's lessons. He hangs up right after, finding it super weird that the guy brought up an old illegal scheme. Right then, someone frantically knocks on his office door. It's his assistant rushing in with a briefcase, super hyped about a new project. He explains he mixed the liquid metal with the mandrakes to cook up a brand new monster. He shows off a floating glob of slime. The terrifying liquid metal mandrake is officially born. He watches in total awe through the glass reflection, super pumped that his twisted plan actually worked. Thanking his his lucky stars that he saved that tiny bit of the rare substance. He immediately orders them to triple the bounty on the machine creature and call in the elite squad. Staring at a photo of a little robot girl with pure obsession, he swears he's going to get his masterpiece back. Cutting back to the demon realm, the big guy is just standing on the beach with his arms crossed. He spots a fence made entirely out of super expensive stones and thinks it's absolutely crazy. While they're chilling by the fire, our boy invites the duo to swing by his place. He hypes up his new personal chef, which makes the Sparrow brothers super suspicious. Taking him up on the invite, he asks the kid why he hasn't gone back to the human world yet, but the boss quickly flips the script, asking if he ever felt like going back himself. He gets super thoughtful because of his past, but admits he is insanely curious about it, suggesting that maybe they could actually break his curse over there, completely blowing the guy's mind. He immediately brings up the super skilled manager Kim, the top-tier alchemist on his squad, saying that having the option to go back hits way different than being banned forever. That brings a heavy silence to the campfire as he fully processes this crazy life update. It makes the bird guy break down totally emotional, asking why the kid is helping them out so much. Being totally honest, he says seeing their bond really made him rethink his own priorities, realizing that life can't just be all about fighting for pure survival, and maybe, just maybe, helping others will bring him the answers he's searching for deep down. Just then, the big bird excitedly yells that the sea fairies are surfacing. He flies up with everything he's got, pulling a golden line right out of the water like some epic fishing trip. The woman tosses the end of the rope onto the sand, calling for some serious teamwork. He grabs the rope with insane reflexes, totally shocked by the massive weight of the thing. Following his sister's orders, the big guy pulls with strength straight out of an action movie. The rope digs deep into the sand, revealing the absolutely insane size of their catch. They haul up a colossal net totally packed with golden sea quartz. It shocks everyone on the beach, and the bird's jaw literally drops, asking if they seriously mined all of that by themselves. Soon enough, the boy and the bionic girl hop out of the ocean, just laughing off their little marine adventure, saying that swimming was straight up incredible, leaving the girl in the little chick outfit looking super happy. A flashback shows the perfect little underwater party they had with the stingrays and fairies. The little girl was swimming totally free, rocking a tiny golden seahorse right on top of her head. She's completely amazed, remembering that the fairy's home was an actual sunken golden palace. Already missing that amazing little trip, hoping to go back down there as soon as possible. Agreeing, our MC straight up asks if they can finally get a move on. Looking at that massive mountain of quartz, Shion's wondering how the heck they're gonna carry it all. Admitting he's gotta figure this out, he looks up looking super confused. Then he spots a giant blue parrot vulture cruising through the sky, totally catching his eye. It's a crazy exotic beast that usually travels in packs. The girls think the bird looks majestic, but Shion warns them it's a whole different story up close. He explains they're over 13 feet tall, spit acid, and are just pure raging monsters. But you can see the wicked glint in our boy's eyes. He's already looking at this beast like a free cargo truck falling right out of the sky. Shifting the focus to the dirt, we see some baby mandrakes looking absolutely adorable. Meanwhile, Bong-soo is out here meditating in full zen mode, super locked into his training. His mana core is straight up glowing, proving that the grind is actually paying off. He's starting to think hitting rank A isn't just a pipe dream anymore. But right as he asks about our MC, an eared fish leaps up right in front of his face. He comes face to face with a liquid metal mandrake and lets out a massive scream. Suddenly, someone comes out of nowhere with a flying kick and sends the little guy flying. It turns out to be 3 hooded ninjas, and one of them is already mocking the whole situation. Looking closer, the blonde leader seems to actually recognize our boy. He thinks he's Nam Ji-sok, the famous bald dude of their crew. They start trash-talking his outfit, which fills Bong-soo with absolute pure rage. He instantly realizes these are the exact same punks from registration day. He starts freaking out as a bunch of mandrakes suddenly sprout right out of the dirt. The ninjas' eyes light up. They know just 3 of those roots are worth a literal fortune. They try acting all sweet to lure the little guys over. Knowing his big bro treats these things like treasure, Bong-soo decides he's got to protect them all. But the boss mandrake completely ignores the intruders and lets out a mocking little screech. Then it stomps the ground so hard it makes the whole earth shake. It creates a massive shockwave that sends the ninjas flying, instantly one-shotting them. The guys are left completely stunned. They think it's an actual earthquake. Right then, the bird siblings show up thinking it's super weird that there are no houses around. Up in the sky, the parrot vulture is flying while sweating bullets from pure stress. Neri complains about how slow it is, and our MC admits he might have gone a bit too hard while taming it. Down below, Bong-soo is full-on panicking, thinking the world has turned completely completely upside down. The bird siblings immediately recognize the beast as a disaster-class monster. They remember that our MC and Nari had headed in that exact same direction. Bangsu's eye is straight up twitching from pure despair with all this chaos going on. He's even considering teaming up with those trash-tier ninjas just to survive. But Jia grabs his face and asks if he's our hero's personal chef. He screams in terror, totally freaked out that the monster is actually talking to him. He demands to know how the heck these creatures know his boss. Xian casually drops at their friends, leaving the kid totally mind-blown. Pointing at the knocked-out ninjas, the creature asks who they are, making Bangsu stutter hard. But then a little light bulb of mischief goes off in our cook's head. He flashes a sly little grin, totally ready to get some payback. He snitches right to their faces, claiming they're thieves trying to steal the family's plants. 1 hour later, the scene cuts back to the clearing with the main base. We see the humble little cabin and those solid, well-built wooden platforms. But the peace doesn't last long. A massive impact almost blows the whole place away. It's our MC and Nari touching down with a net packed with quartz, super pumped to be home. Meanwhile, the poor bird completely passes out from the insane weight of the payload. He pets the beast, leaving Jia completely speechless at his insane taming skills. Xian just shrugs it off. He says nothing's impossible for the kid. The guy is just built different. Right then, these little white critters with symbols on their foreheads come rolling across the dirt. The mascot mentions he hasn't flown like that in ages, but then he suddenly gets spooked. Seeing the three ninjas tied up to a log leaves the little ghost completely baffled. Our MC thinks the whole setup is pretty sus. He knows something's up. Xian is just about to spill the beans, but then he catches Jia's super suspicious glare. To play it cool, she asks Nari for a house tour. This gets the girls super hyped to show off the waterfall. With the girls out of the way, the big guy spills the whole truth to our hero. He explains that the lab is still hunting for Nari using these shady goons. The MC quickly connects the dots back to that crazy scientist he already wrecked. He remembers that special tracker that somehow worked even all the way in the demon realm. He's trying to figure out how they tracked them this far out, but Xian swears there's an explanation. He points out the super depressed metal mandrake, revealing that she's the actual culprit. He realizes the metal fused inside the plant was straight up acting like a homing beacon for Nari's body, but the little guy just got drawn to the other mandrakes in the forest, hoping to find some family. They know these ninjas aren't just gonna roll over and quit. They were planning to head back to the coast. Out of nowhere, the local mandrakes start throwing an absolute fit out in the yard. Their leader is stomping his foot on the ground, looking seriously mad about the whole setup. Translating their little tantrum, he realizes the plants actually want their metal relative back. Without even a second thought, he just hands the metal mandrake over to the boss. He watches the little plant get all happy with its new family, but he's totally clueless on how they even sensed it inside his pocket. He brushes off Xian's jokes, explaining he only took the plant in to keep it safe. He remembers manager Kim crying and decides it's way better off staying with its own kind. He thinks back to the alchemist desperately begging him to take good care of the little guy. Right then, the local plants start digging out a nice, cozy little spot for their new roommate. But both the dead plant and the metal one are still looking super depressed over in the corner. The boss comes over looking totally worried. You can tell this whole adaptation thing is going to be rough. When Yu brings up the whole concept of family, our boy instantly thinks of Nam Ji Seok. Suddenly, a huge scream calling his name echoes through the clearing, scaring the absolute crap out of everyone. It's Jaya and Nari flying in with Bangsu, yelling that they finally made it back. The kid is literally in tears as he clings to our MC. He immediately asks what the heck happened. He starts blabbering about almost getting eaten by weird-looking fish until Auntie Sparrow swooped in and saved him. Trying to switch gears, he offers to cook up some grub, but then he freezes at the sight in front of him. He spots that massive parrot vulture passed out cold, reacting like it's literally the end of the world. He completely loses his mind. He's begging to know where this giant venomous beast came from, but our MC tells him to save the explanations for later. Right now, it's straight up chow time. He asks what's on the menu, and Nari's already got the answer locked and loaded. Nearby, the metal mandrake sprouts up looking super shy. It really just wants to make some friends. Walking over super gently, our bio machine decides to lend a hand. She uses a tiny bit of mana to make the little metal leaves literally glow with energy. The little plants look super stoked, and right there, a totally adorable new friendship is born. Meanwhile, the bird siblings are watching this all go down. down, absolutely shook by that kind of magic. Soon after dinner is finally served, it's a seriously loaded bowl of kimchi curry rice. Bong-soo is looking super proud. He admits the ingredients came from a packet, but he definitely cooked it with love. He explains how he chopped up fresh pork and veggies, basically pouring his soul right into that pot. He stirred that broth for a solid hour straight just to lock in the perfect flavor. Praising the insane smell, our hero gives everyone the green light to dig in. Ji is curious and decides to try the food, somehow finding a way to eat it while still wearing her mask. And her reaction is pure hype. She thinks the dish is super spicy and absolutely delicious. Laughing at the whole scene, our boy thinks his own base has straight up turned into a comedy show. Noticing Nari being super quiet over in the corner, our MC immediately asks what's up. She answers looking pretty down. She tells him she completely lost her appetite. She says she's just gonna go to sleep. This instantly gets our boy brainstorming a plan to cheer her up. With the full moon lighting up the sky, the night rolls on at the family base. Meanwhile, the new mandrakes are getting some super peaceful sleep down in the dirt. That is, until one of the little plants wakes up looking kinda lost. It doesn't really understand where it is. Getting up totally stuffed, Xian gets a solid scolding from his sister for eating like an absolute pig. To help digest all that food, the crew decides to burn some energy by chopping up the quartz blocks. When suddenly, this intense blue light flashes. It's the signal that the portal just opened up. Floating there looking super sad, the girl decides her being there is just putting everyone in danger. She starts walking straight toward the vortex, totally ready to head back to where she came from. Our boy starts full-on panicking. He runs into the wall and screams out her name. Crying and hugging the little metal plant, she says her goodbyes as the portal pulls her in. But our hero is way faster. He grabs the girl and makes it crystal clear that her home is right here with them. Watching the whole scene go down, Uncle Sparrow drops a deep, philosophical quote about kids growing up. He hugs the little girl super tight. He promises he's never gonna let her out of his sight again. Later on, the dust finally settles. The whole gang gets together for their famous midnight snack session. Hiding under the covers, the girl absolutely demolishes her ramen, chasing all that sadness right away. She praises the special seasoning, making our cook look super proud of his recipe. She gets a scolding from Jiev for trying to run off. This makes the girl apologize like 1,000 times. Suddenly, the spice hits her hard, so our MC hands her a nice cold yogurt to chill it out. Bong-soo smiles, remembering that classic mom hack for cutting down the spicy burn. This makes the crew remember that the lab actually used to give out a super similar drink. Acting like the team's absolute savior, the guy goes around passing out more yogurt to everyone, while he's stuck doing the dishes. The heavy-hitting trio gets right back to the grind building fences. They basically crown those sweet fermented drinks as the real MVPs of this crazy night. Taking advantage of the chill vibe, the little girl apologizes again for causing so much trouble, but the boss has her back. He promises her that the crazy scientists are the only ones to blame here. Getting super serious, he asks her to spill more details about this famous coconut tribe. She gets caught completely off guard having to talk about her friends from the past. See, our boy just wants to make sure no innocent people get caught in the crossfire when he brings down the lab. Over in another corner, things are heating up. There's a hardcore interrogation going down. The blonde ninja is straight up despairing because he literally can't use his own magic. He takes a massive smack to the face, quickly learning that this chat is going to be purely physical. He desperately tries to negotiate. He's offering literal mountains of cash just for his freedom, but Bong-soo's just flexing on him. He warns the guy that the price better be totally worth his time. He pulls out his famous elite black card, making the prisoner's eyes bug right out of his head. He leaves the guy completely speechless on the floor. Our cook is just rubbing it in and being super smug, fawning himself with his wealth. He totally ignores all the lame excuses coming out of the ninja's mouth. He's throwing back every single insult he took during registration, with full interest added. He straight up asks if it's fair to use their strength just to scam and steal from innocent people. Then he reveals a magic pollen ring. It's the absolute perfect tool for wiping someone's memory. He decides he's gonna totally reset these thugs' brains, ordering all of them to open wide. Ignoring their screams for help, he makes sure none of them remember a single thing they saw. The very next day, peace is back in the forest like absolutely nothing even happened. Neri is looking completely messy with bedhead. She's learning the hard way that taking care of a kid is no joke. And our MC officially calls for the lab raid. He's taking the guide and leaving Xian on full babysitting duty. Showing up looking super sharp with a backpack on, Bong-soo gives the green light to hit the road. The crew thinks he's way too hyped picked for this. They quickly figure out the guy's real motive. He's looking at the alchemist as the light at the end of the tunnel to finally fix his whole baldness situation. Uncle Sparrow puts 2 and 2 together and just cracks up at the bald man's desperate hope. Stepping up as the voice of reason, the masked girl suggests they all wear disguises too. He agrees on the spot. He knows hiding their faces is the best way to dodge unnecessary drama. Being totally innocent, the guide asks why they even need all this camo in the first place. He gets completely blindsided when our hero borrows his skull mask. He immediately gets yelled at to cover his own face too, just to stay on the safe side. He seriously doubts the mask is gonna fit his head, catching a sharp little roast from the girl right after. But right in the middle of their bickering, the guy feels this super weird tightness in his chest. His heart starts racing like crazy, leaving him totally flustered and confused. He breaks out into this massive, goofy smile, basically accepting that Cupid just shot the right guy. But reality hits hard. Chia starts slapping poor Qian because she got her target totally wrong. Dropping to his knees super fast, our lovesick guy begs to ask one burning question. He gets bold enough to straight up ask his muse about her ideal type. This leaves her brother practically ready to rip his own feathers out, while the boss is just dying of laughter. Totally caught off guard, the girl stares at the kid, struggling to find the right words to say. Our masked MC is over here grabbing imaginary popcorn just to watch this live-action romance unfold. He notices the sister is actually taking the question seriously. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife. Ready to kill the suspense, the girl decides to just lay it all out on the table once and for all. She shoots him this mysterious look. She says she's into a guy who grabs a ton of attention. Then she drops the fatal detail. Her dream guy needs to have some seriously sick dance moves. Right on cue, a peacock shows up busting some crazy moves. This completely breaks our hero's brain, and she adds that she loves big fluffy feathers, instantly crushing our bald guy's dreams into dust. Fueled by pure rage, he screams for the alchemist. This forces the whole crew to take flight right then and there. Soon after, a massive blue portal rips through the city sky. It causes total panic down in the streets. It reveals the silhouette of that sinister mask fully ready to make history on the surface, followed by the giant bird totally flexing its aura, making the guards literally beg for backup. They fly super low between the buildings while all the civilians are down there recording the whole thing. Chilling up in the sky, our boy is just enjoying the ride. He says you never turn down free transport, but his partner starts pressing him. He reminds the guy that he isn't even the actual mission guide. He's just staring out at the gorgeous horizon, noticing how the color blue completely dominates the view. He casually names the giant bird Blue. His sidekick is left totally clueless about the reference. Cutting over to the lab, the director is straight up losing his mind, seeing his hunters completely memory wiped. He gets the bitter news that the chimera is lost, and just slams his fist right into the table. He knows this massive failure could completely cut off all their government funding. You can feel the heavy tension taking over the room as the shadows of those top-tier big shots loom over him. Shaking in his boots, the goon reveals that the defeated squad actually brought back a little present. It's a golden pearl attached to a super cocky warning. It says their little meeting is already booked. Completely snapping, the mad scientist screams down the halls. He's actively hunting for whoever did this. He's got so much pent-up rage that he practically wrecks all the expensive gear around him. Miles away, our boy touches down on a rooftop. He mentions he's gonna fix up Blue's damaged feather. Now that they finally hit the city, he asks what the real deal is with their mystery target. This brings up the little detail that the evil base is heavily hidden off the grid. His partner is out here sweating bullets. He thinks walking in there is basically asking for a death wish. He reminds him that the news literally calls their boss the Doctor of Biomachines, and he asks if messing around with these mutants wouldn't land them straight in federal prison. But our hero doesn't care about politics. He just wants to raid the place the good old-fashioned way. Getting curious about the bird, Bong Su discovers what's actually wrong with its busted feather. He realizes that this visual flaw is the exact reason the creature got kicked out of its flock. But getting a second chance from our boss completely turned this vicious monster into a giant softie. This leaves our bald guy completely shook. He had no idea the bird world was this brutally cold. He explains that this species is absolutely obsessed with having beautiful feathers, kind of like literal peacocks. We get a quick flashback showing the poor bird getting completely bullied for having a messed up feather. He remembers it in pure panic. His childhood in the flock was honestly just super rough. Our MC connects the dots and realizes he got kicked out and attacked with absolutely zero mercy. Staying completely quiet, the guide instantly feels for the guy. He knows exactly what it's like to go through that. Clenching his fists, he admits he understands the bird's pain. He totally relates to the struggle. Looking down from above, our boy finally spots the building. He yells out that he found the lab. Not wasting a single second, the boss tells the bird to dive straight in at full speed. Obeying right on the spot, the giant beast lets out this absolutely deafening war cry. But Bongsu starts hardcore panicking when the bird goes into a full-on missile dive. He warns everyone to hold on tight for the landing. Meanwhile, our bald guy thinks he's straight up about to meet his maker. They make a totally triumphant entrance. They crash right into the building and blast a massive hole through the wall. All the employees are left shaking in their boots. They literally think a full-blown war just started. Coughing through the dust, the mad scientist immediately spots this sinister silhouette standing in the smoke. He comes face to face with that giant beak. He lets out this super high-pitched scream that echoes through the whole room. He falls to the floor totally terrified. He can't even believe there's a literal poisonous vulture standing right there. In a flash, golden webs trap absolutely everyone in the room. The place is just filled with screams of pure confusion. Stepping firmly into the room, our MC announces that the perimeter is completely locked down. The guide is super confused about this wild invasion style, but then he hears that the directors hang out on the top floor. He introduces himself as Little Nari's official guardian. This makes the scientist start stuttering super hard. He tries to play totally dumb about the whole thing. Our boy just stares him down in dead silence. That is, until our guy feels this super bizarre energy coming right off the scientist to his mask. Cutting over to the association, the old man is hounding his grandson about that whole rank exam thing. He even threatens to kick the kid out, but the spoiled heir seriously couldn't care less about the scolding. He's just flexing that his grandpa is the president. He brags about already having a high rank for his age anyway. He proves he really only cares about getting his allowance. This leaves his grandpa totally disgusted by how spoiled he is. Exhausted at 84 years old, the president just stares at his own nameplate. He's seriously thinking about stepping down. Meanwhile, his lazy grandson is just whining about how boring everything is. He thinks back to the absolute legends of the past. They're the real reason he even built this organization in the first place. Staring out the window, he's completely totally over the trash attitude of this new generation. He regrets the super dark direction all this research has taken. He remembers this incredibly sad mermaid chimera. He knows hiring hunters costs a massive fortune. He gets a flashback of some creepy monster stalking innocent kids. This basically leaves the poorest people completely exposed to all the insane horrors of their world. Taking a deep sigh, he admits he's never gonna forget the real old-school heroes. He gets determined to flip the script. He claims the association needs to stand firm instead of just chasing a quick buck. But he knows everyone here is just gunning for his spot out of pure greed and a love for easy money. He feels a heavy weight of old age and powerlessness hitting him. Meanwhile, his grandson is just chilling like nothing matters. He stares at the kid with a bit of jealousy. The boy was honestly born with the talent the old man never even had. Right then, an assistant comes screaming into the room. This makes the rich playboy ask what the heck is going on. He warns them about a massive attack down in the slums. This immediately makes the kid's eyes bug out of his head. Totally confused, the president asks if a natural gate just spawned out of thin air, sweating bullets. The worker says all the branch offices straight up rejected their call for backup. See, literally nobody wants to go risk their lives fighting in that rundown area. This leaves the old man absolutely livid. He orders them to contact the labs. He's totally decided to handle this whole mess by himself. Jumping right out of his seat, the kid says he's tagging Omong too. He's finally showing at least a tiny drop of responsibility. Cutting back to the lab, the tension is super thick. Our hero is staring his target down point blank, and that's when the real chaos finally pops off in the room. He sees these wild energy wires slicing up everything in sight. He instantly realizes the boss isn't playing around today. Suddenly, this dark shadow rises up right behind the guy. It literally shatters his glasses on pure aura alone. It makes the villain's actual body melt down into liquid metal right on the floor. It looks crazy bizarre. Watching this whole thing go down, the guide instantly realizes that Gu is actually a chimera in disguise. He screams in pure shock. The literal director just mutated into this disgusting bubbling monster. All the employees start totally losing their minds. They have zero clue what's going on with this freakish scene. But our boy doesn't even blink. He announces that the real boss fight is officially starting right now. Taking shape again, the enemy screams out. He swears he's never gonna forgive them for raiding his place. He starts charging up energy in his hands. He's totally ready to send everyone to the afterlife on pure hater energy alone. And our hero just straight up mocks him. He makes a sarcastic comment about this super warm welcome. He dodges effortlessly. He realizes the metal is exactly like Nari's, but the vibe of the aura feels totally different. It finally clicks for him. This absolute madman actually ran experiments on his own body to turn into this thing. Watching the whole fight from a distance, the little ghost creature is closely tracking the boss's every move. While his sidekick is busy taking out the trash mobs, our hero directly hacks into the mad scientist's memories. He dives deep into the guy's totally rotten memory bank. He wants to figure out exactly what kind of messed up stuff was happening here. He gets a sick flashback of the young villain operating on a literal child inside some grimy, sketchy lab. It reveals his massive jealousy toward his old mentor. He promises to do absolutely whatever it takes to surpass him. Snapping back to reality, our hero goes totally blind with rage. He violently slams his hand straight into the ground, rocking sharp claws and this glowing red aura. He calls the guy out for straight up kidnapping kids for his sick experiments. The villain just laughs in his face. He actually calls his victims street trash, who should be grateful for the opportunity. This makes our boy completely lose his patience. He crushes his hand into the floor with totally absurd force. The monster desperately tries turning to liquid to slither away, but our hero's grip is just way too overpowering. With his eyes glowing a crazy, bright blue, he tells the scientist to shut his mouth and just feel the pain. One of the goons is left completely paralyzed in shock. That insane, overwhelming energy is totally suffocating the room. The punishment kicks in instantly. The director is screaming his lungs out with absolutely zero way to escape. His entire body gets brutally twisted and wrung out. It's literally like he's just some old dirty mop rag. He gets violently sucked down into this tiny little point by the kid's totally absurd OP power, until, in the blink of an eye, the giant monster is reduced to nothing but a tiny floating sphere of light. He kneels on the floor, perfectly controlling the glowing little orb with his completely ruthless blue aura. Bong-soo is watching in pure terror from a distance. He can't even believe the guy just got turned into a literal marble. He snatches the sphere right out of the air. He basically just turned the main villain into a random inventory item. He glares at the rest of the goons and demands some fast answers. He warns them that otherwise, they're all gonna become his new toys. Digging deeper into those memories, he finds out the guy's old mentor actually stole the research and completely bailed. He's absolutely disgusted by human greed. The dude literally did all this messed up stuff just to make himself young again. He remembers that stupid tracker they put on little Nari. He instantly gets ready to crush the device into dust. Right then, the bald guy and the giant bird give the staff a very nice little incentive to start spilling the beans. Focusing on saving the leftover test subjects, they find out the real hidden lab is actually way down below. Without wasting another second, the crew heads down, smashing their way through with pure, unadulterated brute force. They walk straight into a total nightmare scene. The room is packed with massive tanks holding all sorts of bizarre creatures. This makes the little ghost completely sick to his stomach. The absolute cruelty of treating living kids like simple research data is insane. But our MC stays dead silent. He's just taking in the totally messed up, scary room. This triggers a super tense flashback of his own dark past. He remembers being strapped to a medical bed under this blinding white light. He remembers the doctors standing around, casually debating if they should just cut open and dissect subject number 17. They decided to keep him alive instead. They figured they could profit way more by pretending he was a naturally awakened hunter. Snapping back to the present, the boy touches the glass. He whispers that every single soul in there finally deserves to rest. He completely shatters the locks on the tanks all at once. This massive, blinding light floods the whole room. A tiny little fox pops out of the water looking super scared. She immediately claims that she recognizes his scent. This totally catches our hero off guard. Nari definitely never mentioned that this little pet could actually talk. His little ghost buddy jokes about the fox's sharp nose, but the boss just dryly mentions it's probably just his body wash she's smelling. Still in shock, the little animal asks if he seriously managed to find her old machine friend. He confirms that Nari is doing great over in the demon realm. This instantly makes the little fox wag her tail like crazy. She starts flat out crying tears of joy over the news. Our hero quickly realizes this fox was actually Nari's literal best friend. He asks if there's anyone else hiding down here. The little fox instantly yells out for the rest of the gang to come on out. Stepping out of the shadows, these completely bizarre creatures show up, including a living tree and a giant ant. Even some chubby little squirrels pop out. This makes the little furball ask what kind of crazy zoo this even is. The little fox drops the news that all the combat monsters already got wiped out, so they're the only ones left. Taking a closer look, our hero realizes that every single one of them actually comes from the demon realm. Flaring up his blue aura, he straight up invites the whole gang to come back with him. This leaves absolutely everyone completely stunned. Right after that, the entire lab just violently blows up into pieces, completely wiping it off the map. Watching from a distance, the president's grandson thinks it's super weird that the attack hit that exact building. Then he spots the giant bird flying right out of the smoke. He completely freaks out and screams for his grandson grandpa to look. He seriously can't believe his eyes. Some absolute madman is literally using that giant flying beast like a totally normal Uber. Celebrating the rescue, the guide boy mentions that he stashed the scientists away in a totally safe spot. But then he asks about those memory-wiping pills. The boss just casually replies that he didn't give them anything at all. This completely throws the kid off. He is super confused by that totally unexpected answer. Pointing down at the ground, the bald guy instantly recognizes the association president and his grandson. Staring up at the sky, the old man is absolutely mind-blown seeing this kid riding a literal giant beast. Digging into his memories a bit, our protagonist realizes that name actually sounds super familiar. Then it finally clicks. He perfectly remembers exactly who that old man down there really is. Smirking right under his mask, he grabs the little sphere with the director inside to drop off a little welcome gift. He chucks the item down with full force. This makes the guide totally scream his lungs out in pure panic. It drops like an absolute meteor directly toward where the duo is standing. But the old man proves his reflexes are still top tier. He catches the sphere right out of the air without breaking a sweat. While his grandson is totally freaking out, the president mutters that he never thought he'd actually see this again. He explains it's a hardcore sealing technique. It literally only breaks if you have more power than the guy who made it. Showing up at the scene, the hunters report that absolutely nobody got wiped out in the explosion. They also mention that the researchers completely sold out their own director. They straight up admitted he was a monster, and they reveal the invader actually saved everyone. This leaves the old guy scratching his head in pure confusion. Staring back up into the sky, he seriously starts wondering if that kid from his past is actually still alive. Touching down back in the slums, the little furball celebrates. She's hyped to finally meet the guy who handles all their messy problems. But the boss totally wants to keep things low-key. He knows things are gonna get super messy if the association starts tracking them down. Cutting over to the slum branch, the alchemist is just snoring his life away right in the middle of his shift. He wakes up super startled by this massive bang on the door. He instantly wonders what the heck all that noise is about. Stumbling out of his chair, he heads over to the front entrance to peek at what's actually going on. He comes face to face with the guide kid, who's literally pressed up against the glass, dropping a super casual hello. The guy gets jump scared so hard he lets out this insane scream. It's literally loud enough to shatter all the windows on the block. Our MC immediately scolds the kid for jump scaring the poor dude like that. Taking his mask off, he tells the manager to just chill out. The chubby guy instantly recognizes our boy. Flashing a super suspicious smile, he casually drops that he's taking him on a little field trip to the demon realm. Over in the demon realm, the winged beast is busy teaching the girls how to build this glowing quartz fence. It's a pretty simple DIY trick. They just drill a hole in the stone and slot in a polished crystal to make it glow. The piece starts glowing super bright. Our little cyborg is absolutely amazed by this genius life hack. With a massive smile, she hypes up the flying uncle's handiwork. She's just super excited about the whole thing. But the dark-haired girl randomly stops in her tracks. She just picked up on a super familiar sound. She spots a blue portal opening up right on the wand. She quickly announces that the boss is finally back home, except a whole squad of bizarre creatures comes tumbling right out of it. This totally startles everyone. The cyborg girl gets a little suspicious. She thinks it's super weird that the boss would bring back such trash-tier chimeras. Right away, the little yellow snake with chicken legs starts marching straight toward the cabin. Paying close attention, the older girl notices Nari backing away. She looks totally tense and dead silent. Meanwhile, the tiny snake goes full defense mode. She's ready to protect her turf no matter what it takes. She lets out this totally adorable little screech, trying to sound hardcore. But honestly, it's not working out at all. Completely clueless. The winged giant asks if a little pet is actually scared of the newbies, but the older girl instantly realizes the little snake is just trying to flex and show who the real boss is. She charges straight at the little tree monster. She tries to establish dominance just by screaming her lungs out, but the living tree literally ignores the snake's entire tantrum. It just casually walks right past her, letting out this super low kind of sad groan. The little wood creature just keeps on walking. It heads directly to the backyard garden and totally faceplants into the dirt. It's straight up claiming that spot as its own, except it's not even a garden yet. It's literally just a patch of dry, cracked dirt that looks like a total wasteland. Suddenly, this massive blast of blue energy shatters the ground. It completely ruins the peaceful vibe in a split second. Out pop the 5 mandrakes who basically own that turf. They sprout up acting super cocky and ready to throw hands. Right then, our MC swoops in, riding the giant bird. He announces that they finally made it back home. Looking around, the chubby alchemist just starts hardcore stuttering. He completely cannot believe this insane landscape. He stares down the massive cabin in his pajamas. He's absolutely shocked. They built a literal mansion out here in the middle of nowhere. He's already calculating how many millions this place is worth. He starts looking for the front door while the boss just glares at him, but our boy spots little Nari hiding behind a tree. She's completely backed away from the group. He immediately tells the bald guy and the alchemist to just stay quiet and wait in the corner. He walks over to his veteran duo and asks if they kept everything under control while he was gone. He immediately wants to scoop on this whole turf war happening in the garden. It's a total standoff between the new tree and the cocky mandrakes. There is this super intense stare-down going on right now. The alpha mandrake is completely locking eyes with the wooden newbie, until the giant ant randomly crashes the party. He totally just wants to add some extra fuel to this fire. His tail starts glowing bright red. He's totally activating his defense mode to back up his new buddy. He straight up grabs the plant right by the roots. This leaves our MC totally confused by this weird combat tactic, but then he pulls off the ultimate play. He literally chucks the little tree into the air like a freaking bowling ball, and the alpha mandrake totally falls for it. He jumps up super happy, heading straight for the point of impact. It results in a massive direct hit. The tree slams right into the grumpy little plant's face. They literally roll a perfect strike of chimeras across the lawn. It's this completely bizarre domino effect. And right where the tree landed, this super stylish blue-horned monster pops out of the ground. This makes all the mandrakes totally vibe with pride. Meanwhile, our hero just praises their insane teamwork. As the tree drags the knocked-out monster away, the boss officially declares that the welcome brawl is over. Now there's just one thing left to handle. He still needs to sort out this massive tension between little Nari and the fox. Walking up super calmly, the little fox randomly stops. She starts sniffing around the massive tree trunk. Her face totally gives it away. She definitely recognizes that super familiar scent hiding right there. She spots the little cyborg huddled up in a ball. She calls her machine creature in this totally heartbreaking tone. Bawling her eyes out, the girl begs for forgiveness. She swears she isn't moving from that spot until they accept her again. She turns her back as a kind of punishment. She's completely ready to just wait it out for as long as it takes. This triggers a super heavy flashback to the lab. The crazy scientist is completely furious with his brand new living weapon. It shows the little girl in her robot form. She's just taking brutal hits from the guards without even fighting back once. The director is complaining that she's way too kind. He says she's completely useless for combat with that kind of attitude. He straight up calls her a useless piece of trash. He warns her that she'll get completely scrapped if she keeps playing the nice guy. They decide that if having feelings is the real issue, they're just gonna completely rewire the poor kid's brain. They come up with this crazy, cruel plan. They decide to lock her inside a cell along with a bunch of other monsters. They drop all these cute little chimeras right next to her. They're totally waiting for her to bond and get super attached to them. And then, they force those exact same friends to brutally attack the poor kid in the most messed up way possible. And the sick plan totally works. The fox completely loses control and just relentlessly attacks the little robot girl. But the poor animal is literally crying in pure despair while attacking. Meanwhile, the sick villain is just celebrating that brutal betrayal. The little cyborg is left totally destroyed on the floor. The madman just mocks her, saying that friendship straight up doesn't exist in that lab. He gives her a total ultimatum. Either she wipes out those monsters right now, or she gets melted down into scrap metal. That totally flips a switch in the kid's head. Going into absolute rage mode, she lunges straight for the doctor. She grabs the mad scientist right by the throat. Looking totally confused, she seriously asks him if they were supposed to be friends. She decides to just escape that literal hellhole so she doesn't hurt her real friends. This leaves the old man in an absolute panic. Firing up her thrusters, she completely shatters the glass wall to bust out of that nightmare. Snapping back to the present, the little girl's tears of guilt are just dropping all over the demon realm's grass. Crying her eyes out with her back to the fox, she seriously feels like the absolute worst creature in the entire world. Completely shell-shocked, the little fox just tears up. She has absolutely no idea what's going on. She jumps straight into Nuri's lap because she missed her so much. Nuri starts crying too, still super confused by the whole thing. Bawling her eyes out, she just lets it all out. She tells them how much she missed everyone. Then she makes a rock-solid promise that she's never gonna leave her squad ever again. The MC totally notices her true form, but he just plays dumb to keep the wholesome vibes going. Then Bongsu spots Uncle Sparrow and his sister showing up. He's hyped that they finally made up. The MC gives the crew the green light. He explains he only held them back so they wouldn't straight up terrify Nari earlier. Uncle Sparrow gets curious and points at Manager Kim. He straight up asks who the dude in the pajamas is. Poking him so fun, he even jokes that the fit looks super comfy. Breaking it down for them, the MC reveals the guy is actually an alchemist. Plus, he's gonna break the curse. Hearing that, the siblings are totally floored, but you can see the hope lighting up their eyes. Sweating bullets and dying of embarrassment, Manager Kim awkwardly introduces himself to the squad. Being totally shameless, he instantly asks if he can pluck a few feathers off Uncle Sparrow. Seeing the dirty looks they give him, the alchemist quickly asks if that's gonna be an issue. The big guy shoots back right away. He says it's just kinda awkward to ask for that out of nowhere. Right then we get a flashback of two girls gossiping. They're talking about the massive chaos that Giant Bird caused in the city. We see Bong-soo hanging out with a mysterious blonde. She ends up handing him something. She drops a comment about how nothing beats a roasted potato. That instantly makes the kid light up. He blows on the steaming hot food. You can tell the kid is absolutely starving. He's super hyped for the hot snack. The lady just smiles and tells him to eat up. The kid gets a bit shy when he realizes he's the only one eating, but she assures him she already had dinner. She touches his forehead, which makes him blush like crazy. He tries to play it off, saying he's just worn out from training. He complains about having the chills for 10 days straight. She tells him that sounds exactly like an awakening. Knowing he's 17, the blonde points out that awakenings usually happen around that age. He laughs it off, not really buying it. But she scolds him, reminding him that awakenings don't care about where you come from. Getting totally bummed out, he begs her not to get his hopes up. But then she hands him some cash. The kid just freezes up. He can't believe his eyes when he sees a 50,000 won bill in his hand. She tells him it's his ticket to the association. Then she orders him to go take the test right away. Looking at a photo of a silver-haired dude, she tells him he could still become a badass hunter. Almost crying tears of joy, he thanks her from the bottom of his heart. Then he accidentally calls her ma'am. She totally freaks out over the nickname and tells him to stop, but the kid just jokes around and swears he's gonna pay her back someday. Cutting back to the demon realm, we see the bird guy's sister polishing a massive piece of quartz. Curiosity gets the best of them. The little fox, the tree, and the ant all reach out to touch the glowing crystal. The squirrels are straight up hypnotized. They literally can't take their eyes off the magic stone. With crystal stakes scattered everywhere, the place kinda looks like a magical theme park. Looking super chill, Uncle Sparrow mentions that pulling the night shift is a total breeze for him. The big guy stares at the bald dude who's sweating buckets. He has no idea why the guy hasn't just gone home yet. The older dude starts panicking big time. He begs them, swearing he just wants to help the crew out. Right then, the kid tells the MC he forgot to mention something super serious to the alchemist. Scoring a ride back, the hyped-up kid blurts out that you just gotta live in the moment. The MC completely brushes off all that hype. He just tells the kid to do whatever the heck he wants. Turning to Nari and the little critters, the MC drops some truth. He tells them everyone's gotta pitch in. The big guy thinks it over. He likes having a job to do, but he wonders if the boss is actually cool with it. Nari sees the boss walking off with the stakes and asks what's up. He tells her he's gonna go line up the fence. He asks if she finally made peace with everyone. She ends up stuttering a super nervous yes. He starts probing her about the so-called coconut tribe. That leaves a little girl absolutely terrified he's onto her. Throwing in the towel, she finally confesses. She admits she was never actually part of that tribe to begin with. Speaking in a super calm voice, the MC reassures Nari. He promises that nobody's ever gonna come after her here. Showing off his handiwork, he explains how the stakes create this massive protective barrier. Then he drops a genius idea. He suggests that they just become the new coconut tribe themselves. Flashing a genuine smile, the MC says their family has grown. Plus, the name actually fits perfectly. The little girl just breaks down crying. She gets super emotional repeating the name of her brand new family. She thanks him from the bottom of her heart. The MC just smiles and says it's time to head back to the squad. She runs off totally overjoyed. She yells to everyone that they're back, and from now on, they're the glorious coconut tribe. Catching the good vibes, the big guy gives her some props. Meanwhile, Bong-soo is just sulking in the background. Looking all proud, the kid announces the fence is officially done. Neri just stares at it, thinking it looks absolutely gorgeous. But suddenly, a crazy, sinister wind kicks up out of nowhere. It's a clear sign something massive is headed their way. Getting a massive jump scare, Nari looks around frantically. She asks where the heck the giant bird went. Laughing at all the chaos, the MC jokes that kids really do grow up by scrapping with each other. But his expression flips instantly. He senses this weird presence and gets dead serious out of nowhere. Everyone looks up at the sky. They immediately spot the giant blue bird diving through the clouds. The bird does a quick nosedive. Then it starts rubbing up against the MC like a super needy little kitten. The MC's completely shook. He straight up yells when he realizes the bird's tail feather actually grew back. The alchemist sneaks up and mentions some quick healing treatment. The MC gives him a weird look. Spilling his secret, he reveals he used red moss to completely multiply the healing effects. He explains how the duel helped out with the mission. The big guy even calls the crazy healing healing speed a literal miracle. Right then, the bald guy's brilliant mind goes to work. He instantly starts scheming up a master plan. Being totally shameless, he leans in and whispers. He asks the alchemist if he's got a cure for baldness. Pouring his heart out, he confesses he's spent 10 long years desperately searching for a cure. The alchemist gets super hyped. He says curing baldness is the ultimate alchemist's dream and promises to help him out. Crying tears of pure joy, the bald dude drops to his knees. He literally swears to become his loyal servant if he pulls it off. The big guy just watches this bizarre scene unfold. Then the alchemist finally gets back to talking about the curse. Explaining the stakes, the chubby dude warns that is an ancient magic formation and it's a huge pain to break. Thinking it over, the MC casually mentions that a single mandrake fruit would solve the whole problem. The alchemist is absolutely shook. His jaw just drops at the thought of using such an insanely rare fruit. Keeping it super casual, our boy says his little plants are almost ripe enough to pick. Pointing over at the garden, the alchemist nearly loses his mind. He spots a whole plot packed full of mandrakes. He breaks down their infinite cycle. They absorb energy, grow the fruit, and then immediately eat it themselves. He warns that ripping the fruit off turns it into pure poison, so the plant literally has to hand it over willingly. Dropping some pro tips, the MC suggests placing rocks around him. Apparently, they love cave-like spots during this phase. Whipping out his little notebook, the alchemist is super curious. He wonders how the MC even knows all this crazy lore. Flashing a nostalgic smile, the MC reveals his memories finally came back. He actually goes way back with these things. Flashing back in time, we see the MC as a little kid. He was test subject 17, out in the freezing snow. Freezing to death during survival training, he decides to just power through and climb the summit anyway. Trudging through the snow, he suddenly hears a weird noise. He stops dead in his tracks. Brushing aside some icy branches, the kid realizes something is hiding in there. Getting a closer look, he spots a totally battered mandrake. It's just lying helpless in the snow. Feeling a bit bad for it, he slowly reaches out his hand. He just wants to help the little creature out. But out of nowhere, a bunch of glowing red eyes light up the bushes. Clearly, it isn't alone. Leaping right out of the brush, a whole squad of pissed-off mandrakes charges straight at the kid. Startling the boy, the wounded one forces itself up. It actually starts screaming at its own family to back off. Limping hard and dragging itself through the snow, the cute little plant is barely hanging on. Panting heavily from the effort, the feisty little root looks like it's about to pass out in the cold. Watching this crazy protective display, the kid is super confused. He straight up thinks he's losing his mind. Seeing the little guy try to defend him like that, the kid's icy heart finally starts to melt. Moving in, he releases some gentle mana to soothe the little root. It still stares at him with major trust issues though. He tries to convince himself it's just a monster, but the kid literally can't resist that sad little face. Kneeling down right there, his warm mana wraps around it. The little creature instantly knocks out into a deep sleep. Seeing the plant totally knocked out, he seriously debates if he should just take care of it for a few days. Scooping it up in his arms, our young boss continues his brutal trek through the frozen forest. Hopping into the box, the little creature loses its mind, screaming with pure joy. Soon enough, the MC spots the perfect cave to ride out that brutal blizzard. But there's a major plot twist. The place is completely packed with wild mandrakes. He gets a fire going and watches the little root he saved excitedly run off to mingle with the others. And while the little guy is living it up, our boy just chugs some water in pure survival mode. Wandering back over looking super curious, the little plant suddenly starts glowing weirdly. Realizing she's thirsty, the MC plays it safe and gently offers her a little bit of water. He pours the water right onto the ground to make sure his brand new buddy stays hydrated. She starts shaking with excitement and splashing water everywhere, so he straight up tells her to chill out. He's poking fun at her little happy dance, but then he notices her eyes suddenly bulge out of nowhere. She jumps back and spits a leaf onto the ground, leaving our boss completely confused. Right then, a massive blue flash lights up the whole cave, totally catching our boy off guard. Flexing super hard, the little creature just focuses all its energy on something right there on the dirt. A glowing red fruit just pops up out of nowhere. The kid has absolutely no clue where it even came from. She proudly offers him the snack, but it instantly makes the MC super suspicious. Deciding to just risk it, he banks on his crazy poison resistance and that super innocent little face. Taking a massive bite, he immediately gets hit with this sweet, super refreshing flavor explosion. He feels pure mana flooding into his body and is straight up blown away by it. He peeks over to the back of the cave to check it out and notices some really weird movement. The little plant is twitching like crazy, flexing harder than ever right there on the ground, and then another fruit just pops up in the dark. It's clear the production line isn't stopping anytime soon. 5 whole fruits pop out at once. This insane harvest actually starts freaking the kid out. Then 6 more pop up right after that. Our boss starts low-key panicking at this point. Panting super super heavily, she just keeps offering them to him. He's totally speechless at how relentless she's being. Finally getting the picture, he realizes the little guy is literally hurting itself just to pay him back. Feeling super bad, he thanks her for the kindness but practically begs the poor thing to stop. She eats her own fruit right after, showing the kid that there aren't even any seeds inside. Figuring out their crazy life cycle, he realizes they're literally totally self-sufficient. The guilt hits him hard. The MC figures he probably just stole all the mana she needed to grow. Hopping out of the kid's lap, the little creature scurries right over to the campfire. Just wanting a safe spot, she uses his leg as a pillow and instantly passes out, snoring super loud. Flashing a weak little smile, he mutters that at least he won't be bored out here. But the peace doesn't last long. A pack of ice-horned gorillas suddenly shows up to attack. Those massive apes are thirsting hard for the fruits. They're straight up drooling over that pure energy feast. Scooping up the knocked-out plant, the boss vows to protect his brand new buddy at all costs. Morphing his own hand into a weapon, he glares down the beasts and promises to keep her totally safe. Spending the next few days glued together, the duo faces the harsh snow with her chilling right on top of his head. Laying down absolute beatdowns, the kid goes full monster mode on anything that tries them. After every intense hunt, he makes sure to spawn a little mana fruit just for his new pet. Getting her belly full and totally happy, their bond just keeps getting stronger by the day. Flashing a genuine bright smile, the kid realizes he's actually getting super attached to her. 10 long days fly by. The sun comes up, and it's sadly time for him to head back to hell. Getting super bummed out about him leaving, she just keeps rubbing against his leg non-stop. He totally gets that pain. Seeing the little creature like this just reminds him of his own deep loneliness. Knowing how dangerous it is out there, he realizes the poor thing is going to be totally vulnerable all by herself. But he literally has no choice. The curse on his body means he's straight up gonna die if he's late. He can't take her with him or else she'd end up as a lab rat too, so he promises to leave her an epic parting gift. He sets up a bunch of silkworm webs right at the entrance, securing a solid defense for the cave. Kneeling down on the freezing ground, he preps one final little surprise for his buddy. He ties a tiny necklace around the little guy and tells her not to lose it, no matter what. Jumping for joy, the little cutie just rubs her face against the necklace, feeling totally loved. He waves his final goodbye, leaving the little plant in absolute shock and pure despair. Chasing after the kid through the deep snow, the little creature just screams in total agony. She trips hard and faceplants right into the snow, absolutely crushed by this brutal goodbye. Turning his back so he doesn't cry, the kid powers through it and tells her to stay safe. Collapsed on the ground, the little Rude feels guilty that she couldn't protect her friend. She's just totally heartbroken. She breaks down into this gut-wrenching, tragic wail that echoes all across the massive mountain. Listening to this story, Bongsu and the bald dude straight up start sobbing like actual toddlers. The big guy gets annoyed at the cliffhanger. He demands to know what happened after all that sadness. The MC's face drops. He tells him he actually managed to sneak back there 2 weeks later, but he walked into an awful scene. The cave had totally caved in and the mandrake was nowhere to be found. Carrying this massive weight of guilt on his chest, he just whispers out a sincere apology. He tried to accept that she was either snatched up or eaten, but the boss just couldn't bring himself to believe it. Catching on, his familiar brings up the magic thread, betting that she definitely survived. Clinging tightly to that sliver of hope, Uncle Sparrow starts fully rooting for the little plant. Flashing a bittersweet smile, the kid promises that one day they're gonna head back there to find her, leaving a huge mystery hanging in the air about whether that cute little creature actually survived out in the wild. Cutting right back to the present, the little plant army is causing an absolute ruckus. Seeing their giant leader rocking a huge scar and that exact same necklace, it clicks. It's totally her from the past. Mind blown, his ally points out that she somehow survived completely alone in the demon realm. Joking that the boss just has a thing for roots, the friend totally flusters the MC. Agreeing that they look absolutely starved, the MC tells the squad to release a little bit of their mana, but he drops a hard warning, making it super clear that these guys are way different from normal mandrakes. Way too hyped and curious, his buddy says he wants to see this difference firsthand. The alchemist confidently releases his mana, which instantly has the boss looking at him sideways, mostly because of his dirty little secret. He actually transplanted mandrake cells straight into his own body, calling the little guys literal vacuum cleaners. The big root starts glowing, fully ready to suck out his soul. Straight up panicking, the old dude feels his mana getting getting violently drained out of him. Breaking down the problem, the kid tells him they're starving for his insane amount of energy. Looking totally washed and drained, the poor guy literally can't believe this is happening to him. He flashes this face of absolute crushing defeat while all his energy gets completely sucked down the drain. The alchemist faceplants hard onto the dirt, and his weird little mascot goes sprinting over to him in a panic, shaking his knocked-out body. The little creature starts pulling out drama straight from a soap opera. It's an unbelievably humiliating defeat, definitely going out sad for a Ranka alchemist. Seeing the mandrakes literally puking, the girl realizes his mana must taste absolutely disgusting. Cutting over to a super fancy office, a sinister voice starts grilling them about the lab attack. Totally furious, this rich lady screams about how she invested heavy cash, only for the whole place to turn to scrap. Applying insane pressure, they demand to know exactly how they're going to cover this massive loss. Sweating bullets, the suit warns them that the association already opened up a major investigation. This leaves the big shot in glasses sweating hard over the terrible press they're about to get. Acting super cocky, one of the villains just mocks them, asking if they're seriously scared of some powerless old man. Getting totally pissed off, the president claps back, asking if he's told a single lie so far. Meanwhile, this corrupt politician is just kicking back, quietly watching the whole argument unfold. Flashing his yellow eyes and a wicked grin, he swears that everything is totally under control. Getting all philosophical about anomalies, he claims that hitting a few bumps in the dark is just part of the game. Flexing a brand new fat stack of cash, the politician tells everyone to just chill out. Whipping out a map, he points out a massive mandrake habitat right on top of a snowy peak. Not buying it, the suit asks what kind of lunatic could actually make it all the way up to that summit. Laying out the scam, he explains they just need to recruit some suckers who can survive making it halfway up. Completely lost on the master plan, the mustache guy has absolutely no clue how this habitat scheme is even supposed to work. And he goes even further, saying that with this item, they're going to create their own portals without relying on anybody. Cutting to an office, a young guy shows up at the front desk, looking all helpful. Giving this awkward smile, he scratches the back of his neck, completely lost in the situation. Meanwhile, super far from there, a group is staring down an endless, snowy wasteland. Everyone's bundled up, moving in a single file line right to the ice. Right then, our hooded MC feels a spark, and his eyes glow bright blue. This scares two of his teammates, who immediately ask him what's going on. But without saying a single word, he walks off to check things out all by himself. Back in the room, the guy in the white suit clenches his fist, super confident his plan is gonna work. Out on the ice, the leader with the man bun loses his patience and tells the kid to stop, warning him about the danger. Grabbing his shoulder, a masked guy tells him to chill out so they don't do anything stupid. But the MC just grips his hood tight, already locked in on moving forward. Stepping in front of everybody, he holds out his hand and unleashes a green aura to stop them in their tracks. With a bleeding face and yellow eyes, the kid screams, letting out a massive burst of power. Cutting through the frozen landscape, the energy shoots straight toward an invisible target, and the impact reveals a little group of creatures that were hiding out right there. A bunch of mandrakes pop out, hopping around, way too curious about that attack. Surrounding the explorers, they start jumping all over the place, totally clueless about what is happening. But the effort takes its toll. The MC's nose starts bleeding, and his eyes completely lose focus. Unable to handle it, he passes out and falls face first into the snow, making the crew rush over to help. Noticing the danger, the man bun leader preps a skill, spawning 2 orange spheres, throwing the attack at the mandrakes who just stand there staring, totally spacing out. Right then, a massive energy net appears and drops straight onto the little creatures, pinning almost all of them to the ground, leaving the little guys freaking out with nowhere to go. Except one of them, sitting on top of a rock, manages to dodge it by a hair, rocking a star-shaped scar on its forehead. This one immediately takes up a boss stance. Climbing up the rock, the little guy barks orders, and the squad obeys like it's a straight-up general. Soon enough, the trapped ones start chewing on the magic net, trying to break out. Jumping onto the backs of the others, the leader helps gnaw on the threads with some crazy focus, making the net guy scream in agony seeing his attack get trashed by the little munchkins. Just then, a brute draws his weapon and charges in, while his partner tries to recast the skill. With his arm bulging with power, the big guy gets ready to crush the mandrakes, bringing the blade down hard, but the impact only ends up shattering the rest of the barrier. Taking advantage of the opening, the little creatures run for their lives in every direction. Sweating bullets, the leader looks back, but it's not giving up without a fight. Raising his weapon again, the brute gets ready to wipe out their boss. Letting out a battle cry, he swings his blade mercilessly right at the little creature, until the MC pops up and blocks the attack with just one hand, setting off a blue shockwave. The impact is so insane that it cracks the ground, leaving the whole team completely speechless, just standing there in the dust with the enemy's weapon buried in the ground right next to him. With his eyes glowing gold, he glares at the group with a totally intimidating look, and a giant shadow full of yellow eyes appears behind him. collective, giving off some unreal pressure. The aura is so heavy that the entire squad collapses to the ground, shaking in absolute terror. Turning his head, our boy looks down at the tiny mandrake he just saved. With its little eyes full of tears, it looks right back at him with massive gratitude. Up from the sky, the flying masked girl watches it all, realizing the MC is built totally different. Finding it super weird, the eagle guy asks is she sure, cause he's never seen anything like this. In an all-white space, the kid stands there staring at the little plant all by itself on the floor. Shaking all over, it's completely torn between being nervous and hyped up. Back in the snow, he kneels down in front of the mandrake, which watches everything with curiosity. Flashing a gentle smile, the little guy seems to realize right away that he's one of the good guys. Crying tears of joy, it jumps right at him, absolutely glowing. Holding the little cutie in his arms with extreme care, it just completely soaks up the affection, snuggling into the kid's arms, looking all shy and happy as can be. Glancing at the rest of the crew, the other mandrakes watch every single move of the scene. Right then, the leader decides to rip off a piece of his shirt collar, jumping back down to the ground right after, taking that little cloth trophy with it. Holding the scrap of fabric, it faces its own people with a super determined little face. Hyping up the rest of the squad, they start jumping around, ready to follow their boss. Vibing like crazy, the leaf on the tiny leader's head starts growing at an insane speed. Sweating from all the effort, its little body is shaking all over right in the middle of a transformation, and a bigger silhouette pops up in the background, making it obvious it's straight up evolving. Finishing the process, the little creature is now rocking some Lee sandals. Just watching the whole thing go down, the MC sees the newly redesigned leader commanding the squad. Watching from above, the winged creatures see the little plants gathered right in front of him. With a little smirk, the kid tells the eagle guy to chill out, since they're just mandrakes. Then the evolved leader lets out a war cry, sounding like a general hyping up the troops. Right after that, a hunter from the group throws himself on the ground and bows to the MC. Super awkward vibe. His eyes go wide, completely lost on why the guy is acting like that. Keeping his forehead buried in the snow, the hunter shows total submission. Flying down to help, the masked girl mentions the guy looks like he's reached his absolute limit. But when the MC grabs the guy, he's shocked by how bad of a state he's in. All beaten up and gasping for air, a dark purple energy starts pouring out of his body. Watching closely, the masked girl tries to figure out what the heck is going on, until a weird mark on the injured guy's arm glows with that exact same purple light. Laying his ally down carefully, the MC realizes his body is already going cold. With his eye glowing orange, he figures out what happened and gets insanely furious. Standing up, he glares at the fallen hunter's other two partners, who are straight up shaking in fear. Grinding his teeth in hatred, one of the brutes can't handle that heavy pressure. The MC's eyes turn blood red and a sinister aura lets out a brutal bloodlust. Flashing a cocky smile, the brute dares him to make a move. Such a dumb idea. In the blink of an eye, our boy smashes an explorer's head right into the rocks. Stomping the ground right after, he cracks the earth and sends everyone flying from the shockwave, making a hooded goon panic when he sees the energy coming right at him to slice him up. Breathing out cold air, the MC keeps that freezing lethal stare. The last two guys left are shaking like leaves under that crushing pressure. With his eye glowing, he watches the survivors in dead silence. From far away, the mandrakes just watch quietly, totally clueless about the beef. After a while, he sits near his ally's body, chilling with a little plant on his head. Staying totally quiet, he stares off into the horizon looking dead serious, remembering the day he met the guy who called out to him super hyped on the street. Back then, our MC was even surprised by the kid's crazy energy. Smiling and giving a thumbs up, he was just overflowing with confidence. But the memory fades, and the hunter's last breath starts hitting him hard all over again. Focusing his gaze, he puts on a look of pure determination. Just then, the pajama alchemist comes flying in, gripped by the winged woman's claws, screaming his lungs out. Getting tossed to the ground, the healer goes rolling through the snow, scared out of his mind. Stopping face first in the ice, right at our boy's feet. Lifting his head all dizzy, he tries to process where the heck he landed. The healer quickly casts a bright green magic spell on the injured guy's body. Sweating bullets, he sadly realizes that the healing isn't doing anything at all. Gritting his teeth, the MC gets super frustrated with the outcome. Putting his hand on his chin, he thinks fast, trying to find a way out of this. Right then, the healer gets a massive jump scare. His eyes going super wide, is because the MC starts drawing a massive magic circle with his finger in the snow, leaving the chubby guy totally mind-blown by how brutally perfect the drawing is. Recognizing the pattern from an old book, he spots the red glow of forbidden magic. Seeing the bodies all around, the winged duo realizes the kid is way more dangerous than they thought, and the healer freaks out, asking how he knows resurrection magic, which straight up costs a soul. But the MC just flashes a confident smile, knowing exactly what he's doing, throwing it back to his time in a secret facility where he lived, surrounded surrounded by scientists, strapped to a chair and completely messed up. He glared at those guys with pure defiance, smiling in this sinister way, saying he was immortal and could tank anything they threw at him. Right after that, the building blows sky high, sending everyone flying away, and that exact same red circle was the trick he used to escape that absolute hellhole. Back on the ice, our boy takes off his shirt, looking totally shredded, and gets ready for the ritual. So drop a like on the video to get the next part.